Welcome to the jungle. Come and suck me off. That was an interesting way to start this. How's everybody doing? Where my bitch is at? Okay, so here we go again. Here we go again with the fun back end stuff. Let me hit refresh. I'm gonna pull it all up. See how I can hop on into the super chatsingtons. I'm not gonna take them just yet. I'll take them in a little bit, but we got a bunch of stuff to talk about first. So we're going to hop into that in just a minute. Here we go. Live control room. Holla at your boy. Already demonetized. What else do you expect? Okay, there everybody is. Hello, everybody. Hello. How was everybody's Sunday yesterday? For me, it was a great day because I felt like a kid on Christmas because of the lineup of what I got to watch. So there was the Masters. Everybody knows I'm a golf geek. The Masters was on. Fucking love watching the Masters. I have to go one year. I've never been there. The tickets are super duper expensive. But I know a friend of mine from when I was growing up is a golf pro now. Not a touring pro, but a golf pro, like a teaching pro. So he might actually be able to get me on the course for, not to play, unfortunately, but to watch the Masters. So I was watching the Masters yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I just love that tournament so much. It's my favorite golf tournament of the year. And man, Jordan Spieth made a fucking run at it. Holy shit. You want to talk about Sunday magic? That's the old Sunday magic that we used to see from Tiger and Phil back in the day when they would make a charge on Sunday. And I get so excited when that happens. But Spieth, I was like, holy shit. When he made that putt on 17, me and my friend were texting each other and we're like, what the fuck? Spieth is trying to be the next Tiger. Now, you can't compare anybody to Tiger because Tiger's Tiger and Tiger's like barely human. But Spieth was trying to be the next Tiger. It was amazing. So the Masters I watched. Then after that, I watched Wrestlemania. Wrestlemania was it was okay. I'm a little upset because my boy is Nakamura, and Nakamura lost. I always feel whoever I want to win never wins when it comes to wrestling. But I think that's why they keep me coming back. Like somebody said it, like you can't enjoy wrestling unless you hate every aspect of it. Like the fact that we hate it is why we keep watching, because we're like, hey, maybe Ronda Rousey was good. Somebody mentioned Ronda Rousey. She was actually really good, and I was impressed. I was ready to shit on her and be like, she sucks, boo, get her out of there. She was actually really good. But yeah, the fact that I get mad every time I watch it is probably why I keep watching it. That's probably just what it is. You are sexy as fuck. That is all. Carry on. Wrong. But thank you. I appreciate that. So Masters was great. WrestleMania was okay. So it was a fun day for me yesterday. I felt like a kid on Christmas. That's why there was no actual live show today, and I'm doing a live stream instead. Is because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to prep while I'm trying to juggle watching the most awesome things ever. So I decided I'll just do a live stream instead, and we'll talk about what we probably would have spoken about if we were going to do a show, and I'm not going to like clip it out and everything. But so there's a lot of stuff going on, and it ain't good. It ain't good at all. So let me all right, let's just jump into the Syria thing. I feel like that's probably the most important thing. It's big on Twitter right this second, as it should be. It looks like we're about to get even more mired in Syria. So we're already there. It's hilarious when people act like the U.S. and their inaction in Syria. Inaction, my ass cheeks. Obama put us into Syria. We're still there under Donald Trump. The thing that's probably most infuriating, well, it's most infuriating that we're there at all. But we're actually arming and propping up both sides of the war. Nobody talks about that. I feel like that's a giant scandal, but nobody talks about that. So you have Pentagon-backed rebels who are fighting CIA-backed rebels. I mean, that's it. Like, strike one, you're out. End of conversation. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? So we're already there. We were there under Obama. We're there under Trump. But now, so what happened is they are claiming that Assad did a chemical attack. What they would say is another chemical attack. Now, the first time around, you know, coming to find out it was bullshit. They claimed he did a chemical attack. Coming to find out it was bullshit. It, of course, has not been proven. There is evidence of chemical weapons being used, but there's actually more evidence of the rebels using chemical weapons than Assad using chemical weapons. So they tried this once before, and then they tried it a second time. And notice there's a really, really, really clear line of events that happens. Whenever it becomes apparent that Assad has strengthened his grip on power and he's defeated the rebels. So whenever it's like, okay, he's on the verge of winning the war, if not has already won the war, that's when you get all the allegations of chemical weapons. So now, again, people don't talk about the fact that Assad actually gave up his chemical weapons. You remember that? Remember when John Kerry and, a Russian official were doing a meeting and they were trying to stop the U.S. from intervening in Syria, and the Russian official was like, what can he do in order for you to not intervene and bomb him, basically, and do regime change? And John Kerry said, well, he could give up his chemical weapons, but that's not going to happen. And then the very next day, Russian officials came out and Assad came out and he said, fine, here, take my chemical weapons. You can take them. Don't care. Didn't use them, not using them now. Don't care. You could take them. Now, again, nobody's bringing that up in the context of this conversation because it's pretty inconvenient for the narrative. And the narrative that's being pushed by the West now is, even though Assad has basically already won the war, oh my goodness, he decided to gratuitously use chemical weapons against his own civilians. By the way, the people that they had freed from jihadist strongholds recently. So we're supposed to believe that this guy would do this totally irrational action, which would then spark the ire of the West to possibly, if not certainly, go in there and do a military action directly against him. So simply put, guys, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think the government's lying to us. I think the media is lying to us. And now I see every single outlet you can imagine is contributing to the war fever pitch at the moment. And it's maddening. I even saw, now I love The Intercept. They do fantastic work. And Glenn Greenwald is actually a friend of mine. But I even they had an article that's contributing to this climate. The same way that back for the Iraq war, oh, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. They had these goofy bullshit stories about how in Iraq, Saddam's people would take babies out of incubators and throw them on the ground. Insane propaganda to try to get America to a point where everybody goes, yeah, of course we got to go in there. What are we waiting for? Of course we got to go. And then also the idea, this drives me crazy. Nobody gives you context. Nobody gives you perspective. The Washington Post had an article like, oh my God, we really should, Trump's weakness is what led to Assad now using chemical weapons against his own people. So again, this is resisting from the right. This is, why doesn't Donald Trump be more aggressive, more hawkish, and why didn't he stop Assad? So in other words, the guy who just gave a State of the Union speech where he bragged about signing a pro-torture memo, Donald Trump, that guy, the guy who says we should, quote, take out the families of terrorists, the guy who doesn't have a moral bone or humanitarian bone in his body, is now he has the so-called liberal media pleading with him to go intervene, to go do military intervention. Isn't that crazy? No matter what, the arguments always end up propping up the military-industrial complex and propping up U.S. intervention and more empire, more imperialism, more war. So, and this is the thing that it's just unbelievable. I would have, if you told me at the beginning of when Trump got elected that, oh, in a few months you'll have, or a year or so, but even within a few months people were doing this, that they would be begging for Trump to be more hawkish and for him to get more involved in Syria, and it would be Democrats doing it and supposedly liberal outlets doing it, I wouldn't have believed you. And I'm jaded and I'm cynical as fuck, but even I would have said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to disagree a lot with the resistance and how they resist, but there's no way that you would have overt calls for bombings and interventions. And remember, the last time, when did Donald Trump get the most effusive praise from the mainstream media? When he bombed Syria. He bombed the Syrian airport. It was like a military outlet. And then you had guys like Fareed Zakaria, again, who's supposed to be a lefty, goes out there and he's like, today's the day Donald Trump became president. Brian Williams was talking about the beauty of our missiles taking off. And nobody's even bringing up the fact that, wait a second. Aren't we supposed to have a standard for when we do unilateral military action? Isn't there supposed to be a standard? Like, okay, we only do it in situations X, Y, and Z. Like, here's the plan. We only do it for, and of course, I would argue the most reasonable line to draw is self-defense. Self-defense. But nobody's even bothering to make an argument that, well, Assad's going to attack the U.S. Because everybody knows that's just beyond preposterous. Assad has, well, what's Assad going to, seriously, would Assad attack fucking Kentucky? Is that what he would do? Would he go after Arizona? Would he try to do an invasion through Mexico and Arizona? Are you kidding me? But the thing is, even during the Bush years, they felt like they needed to make some kind of argument to that effect. They felt like they needed, like, oh, Saddam was connected to 9/11. See, he attacked us already, so that's why we have to fight back. See, even back then, they felt like, okay, we need to give something that would make your average American who's actually thinking about these issues when you bring them up to those people, you have to make them go, okay, well, it's understandable because he attacked us on 9/11. So their propaganda was built on, well, we have to make a case that he attacked us or he wants to attack us. And that's what they say, oh, weapons of mass destruction, he's going to attack, he's going to launch. It was all bullshit. But they had to make you feel like you were under threat. The United States was under threat. Now, we're at the point where the military-industrial complex has taken such a root in America's political system, where the Democrats and the Republicans are both bought, that they don't even bother to make an argument of like, oh my God, Assad is a threat against us. They say, oh, he killed his own people. And by the way, again, is there an official conclusion in an investigation that it was, Assad that used these chemical weapons? Of course not. And it's the same thing that they did with the situation recently with Russia, where they were like, oh my God, this guy was a Russian spy and he was poisoned by the government. And so therefore, what are we going to do? We have to act. And at the UN, the US was against an investigation. Russia was like, okay, look, do an investigation. We'll do an investigation. Whenever the investigation comes to, those are the conclusions. The US blocked that and said no. And then, of course, we say our own intelligence agencies go, oh, see, no, but it was Russia for sure. We're telling you it's Russia. So again, the same people who lied to us about Iraq are now the ones who are, pounding the gavel and saying, nope, same thing with Russia. Russia's poisoning their own people. By the way, Russia is so brilliant at assassinating these people that they survived. And they argued again that they used a Russian nerve agent. So they used the most easily trackable thing back to them. Is that what, geniuses would do? An evil genius like Vladimir Putin, he would assassinate somebody by using the thing where everybody would point directly at Russia? Again, I just need you guys to think about this stuff and don't accept shit at face value. And I can't stand the fact that nobody in these conversations dares to bring up the elephant in the room that everybody else around the world would bring up second number one when we're having this conversation, which is, who the fuck are we, the United States government, to say we're the moral arbiters and we're the world police? I just told you, Donald Trump was bragging about signing a pro-torture executive order. He was bragging about keeping Guantanamo Bay open. There's a story that I'm going to cover on our next show about how some top officials told him, here's where we're doing our drone strikes, and we waited for the civilians to leave in this area before we did it. And he said, why'd you wait? You shouldn't wait. So this government, the government that is currently bombing 8 different countries, the government that under the Bush administration did an offensive invasion against a country that didn't attack us and killed minimum 200,000 civilians. This government is now going to say, well, obviously for humanitarian reasons, we need to do regime change in Syria. So, okay, by our own logic, does that mean that, I don't know, say Greenland can invade the U.S. and topple the U.S. government because of what we did in Iraq or because of what we're currently doing in Guantanamo Bay? It's a fair question, right? I mean, if we're going to have a standard, the standard is, listen, if you're a rogue regime and you're violating international law, you need to be toppled militarily from a foreign country. Okay, well, then we should have been toppled years and years and years ago. But of course, the way propaganda works is you do an arbitrary moral carve-out for the U.S. You go, no, it doesn't count when we do it. So we get like mulligans nonstop, The same rules don't apply to us. We just declare we're above the game. Everybody else has to play by the rules in the game. We're above the game. So, and then listen, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is might makes right. That's what the U.S. fundamentally argues. But then you don't get to, bitch about other countries and their human rights records, because ours is absolutely fucking abysmal, but we still have supposedly liberal outlets begging President Trump to intervene. And they just brought fucking Bolton into the room. They just brought him into the administration. And now we're going to see the fruits of Bolton being there. Listen, man, Donald Trump, I can't fucking take this. Donald Trump. So I looked it up because and I know when it came to Syria, when it came to Afghanistan, when it came to Iraq, his Twitter feed was just a litany of what the fuck are we doing there? This is so stupid. We're wasting so much blood and treasure, trillions of dollars. We basically flush down the toilet. We're getting nothing out of this. He doesn't mention that we're killing civilians over there because he doesn't give a fuck about civilians over there. But at least he was willing to make the argument we should spend that money here at home and rebuild our country. And why did Bush do it and why is Obama doing it? When Trump campaigned in the debates, he said the same fucking thing. Why are they doing it? Why are they doing that? This is so stupid. We shouldn't be doing this. Nonstop, he would just... And again, in other ways, he was hawkish. In other ways, he said he wants to take out the families of ISIS and terrorists. And, so in some ways, he's the most hawkish. But in other ways, he's non-interventionist when he said, let's not go into Iraq. Let's get out of Iraq. Let's get out of Afghanistan. So I said, you know what? Let me check to see what the deal was with Syria, because I didn't know. Hey, maybe Syria, he didn't say anything about Syria, for example. Or maybe he was tepidly in favor of it or whatever. No, guess what? Here, I'm going to read you some tweets from Trump on the issue of Syria. He said, and this is September 3rd, 2013, quote, "What I am saying is stay out of Syria." What happened? Don. He said on September 13th, 2013, quote, "We should stop talking, stay out of Syria and other countries that hate us, rebuild our own country and make it strong and great again. USA." He said on September 9th, 2013, "Don't attack Syria. An attack that will bring nothing but trouble for the U.S. Focus on making our country strong and great again." September 7th, 2013, "President Obama, do not attack Syria. There is no upside and tremendous downside. Save your powder for another and more important day." He said on August 29th, 2013, quote, "What will we get for bombing Syria besides more debt and a possible long-term conflict?" What will we get for bombing Syria besides more debt and a possible long-term conflict? Obama needs congressional approval. So this is, if we want to speak the language of Trump's own team here, he's being cucked by the deep state. That's what it is. He's surrounded by the military-industrial complex. He's surrounded by Bush-era neocons. And they are telling him time and time again, "Mr. President, you have to do something to stop this. Mr. President, we have to do regime change. Mr. President, we have to get involved in this stuff. We don't have a choice. We need to show the world that we mean business." And you couldn't get a worse situation. So now we have Bolton. He wants to fucking attack North Korea. He wants to attack Iran. He wants to probably do a fucking ground invasion of Syria. I think we would probably save time if we just spoke about the places that the United States doesn't want to invade. I mean, this is getting fucking preposterous. And then don't even get me started on the Democrats. Ted Lieu was just tweeting about this before. "Mr. President, we think that I would like to say that maybe all options should be on the table." Okay, there we go. So all options. So that means, hey, maybe military action, maybe war. Why not? Maybe war. But if you were to do it, you should probably get just a congressional approval. So instead of standing up and saying, "No, on this issue, you are wrong. We should stay out of Syria," and lay out 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't be in Syria. But instead of doing that, they're just like, "Well, I would like to tepidly disagree on some political process issues, some procedural issues." That's not resisting. That's not fucking resisting. That's saying, "Hey, maybe I agree with you on the issue, but let me throw some vague shit at you, something about the process, some mealy-mouthed nonsense." And so we have two pro-war parties in America. Just call it what it is. One party likes, "Oh, we'll use soft power. We'll only drone innocent civilians. Aren't we wonderful? The other people don't want to just drone them. They want to use fighter jets. They want to do ground invasions. They want to occupy these places forever. So no, what about having the option on the table of only using unilateral U.S. military force to defend the country? What about that? And by the way, when you poll the American people, that's what they fucking want. That's what the American people want. That's what they want. That's what they want. That's what they want. You know, a lot of people actually did vote for Trump because they felt like, hey, we know Hillary's record. She voted for the war in Iraq. She's saying she wants to get us more involved in Syria. You know, she was saying it openly at the time. Trump was the one who was like, I'll stay out of there and let Assad and Russia handle ISIS. Let's just stay out of there. So some people viewed him as the more anti-war candidate. Now, of course, ultimately, Trump is massively pro-war. I mean, we've seen it. He's bombing 8 different countries. Obama was bombing 7. Trump took it to 8. The civilian death rate has gone through the fucking roof. It wasn't good under Obama by any stretch of the imagination, but it's even worse now. But there were some people who said, yes, I agree with him when he says, let's stop wasting money over there. Let's rebuild our own country. But instead, now, President, the guy on the campaign who's like, I'm Mr. Anti-Establishment, is giving the neocon deep state wet, sloppy blowjobs on a regular basis. You're going to fucking bring in John Bolton, the dumbest guy in America. Larry Kudlow is the guy he brought in for economics. Larry Kudlow's been wrong, objectively wrong about everything he's ever said when it comes to the economy. Objectively, measurably, empirically incorrect. I mean, you could go issue by issue through it, point it out. He's wrong about this one, wrong about this one, wrong about this one. This is an idiot who said in like 2007, the housing market's in great shape. It's going to keep going up. Yeah, I'm Larry Kudlow. The fucking thing collapsed a year later. These are the people he's taking advice from. Guys who never met a war they didn't like. Guys who only want to cut taxes for the rich and deregulate Wall Street. This is fucking maddening, man. God damn it. You know, and this is one of those issues, to talk about it from a political angle for a second. Oh, this right here. If Trump announces what I'm pretty sure he's going to announce, which is we're going to do something in Syria, you are going to have Trump lose in 2020. There's no way he'll win in 2020 if he attacks Syria. No way. No way. No way at all. Because the American people, when you look at the polls, they don't like war. They don't fucking like it. They don't like it at all. You know, when Obama did the speech against Assad and was saying, oh, we're going to get involved in Syria, they polled the issue and it came back at like 20%. Only 20% of Americans want a war with Syria. And now Trump's looking like he's going to do the exact same fucking thing. What a cuck. Fucking cuck to the deep state. Jesus, man. We need... And then, God damn it, even if a Democrat wins, you'll probably get a similar policy. Not in that... So, again, the difference between Democrats and Republicans today is so-called soft power versus hard power. I don't know what the fuck we call it. Out-and-out imperialism. So it's, you know, hey, drone strikes here and there, and we're still going to have bases fucking everywhere. That's the Democrats. Versus the Republicans are like, yeah, ground invasion. Why not rip up the fucking Iran deal? Let them make it more likely they'll get a nuke. Escalate with them. Fuck. And then, you know, there were attacks the other night on Syria, but according to the State Department, it was Israel that did it. But of course, the U.S. had to green light that. The U.S. was sitting there like, yeah, whatever. Go ahead, Israel. Fucking in between massacring fucking journalists, covering your atrocities. Yeah, go ahead and bomb Syria, a country that's not attacking you. You know, it's unbelievable what's going on right now. So here we go. We all called it too. When Bolton was brought into the administration with open arms, we all called it. We all said, that's what's going to, we know what's going to happen now. He wants war with North Korea. He wants war with Iran. He wants war with Syria. And it doesn't matter that they've been wrong every step of the way. I mean, again, it's times like now where you need a fucking functioning media. It's times like now where you need the New York Times and the Washington Post to talk about these issues like I'm talking about these issues. You could get rid of the curses. You can get rid of that, you know, how animated I am over this and stuff. But they should be giving you the exact same substance I'm giving you right now. That the architects of the Iraq War, where we wasted $7 trillion, killed minimum 200,000 civilians. It was an atrocity. It was a war crime, okay? The whole war was illegal. They should be pointing all that out. They should be the ones saying, what the fuck are we doing? You're going to listen to guys who should be in prison? They should be in prison. Guys like John Bolton, Dick Cheney, they should be in fucking prison. They should be in prison. I'm not fucking, pussyfooting around it here. I'm just saying it. They should be in prison for what they've done. For all the innocent people that are dead because of them, the torture that happened because of them, the amount of money they wasted. Fucking Flint, Michigan doesn't even have clean water right now. They don't have clean water. Our infrastructure gets a D+, and these idiots are saying, let's get more involved in Syria. And let's see, by the way, we'll see if anybody even bothers to object. The most tepid objections I've seen, or the strongest I've seen, is just Democrats going, procedural reasons, maybe we shouldn't do it. You won't get Democrats talking about, hey, the cost, maybe. How about that? This is going to cost so much fucking money. I don't want to do it. Dude, what are we doing? We're wasting trillions of dollars for no goddamn reason as our country is crumbling and falling apart. Democrats are not going to take that line. And Democrats certainly are not going to argue the points that I was arguing, that the United States, we repeatedly violate international law. We're doing it right now. We're torturing people right now. We have extrajudicial prisons right now. We're killing civilians right now with our bombs. They just got rid of the fucking rules of engagement in Niger. But the Democrats are not going to say, oh my God, we're the biggest fucking hypocrites in the world. You think we're the fucking world police? Who's going to police the police then, bitch? Because we're some of the biggest offenders. So the left needs to step up and go, fuck you. And then, by the way, in the process of saying, fuck you, we shouldn't go into Syria, you'll win a lot of crossover voters, you fucking idiots. That's what they don't understand. There's this stupid mythology that's so pervasive in the U.S. that, like, oh, you got to be more moderate in order to get voters. You got to be more moderate. You got to be more centrist. You got to agree more with the right wingers in order to do it. No, you need to be more populist to win. You have to be more left wing. Don't take my word for it. Go look at the opinion polls from every respectable outlet, whether it's Pew Research, whether it's Gallup, whether it's, you name it, whatever polling outlet there is. When they ask about specific policy issues, the American people always come back left wing. They always say, no, we want less war. We want more money spent on education. We want Medicare for all. So don't take my word for it. So if you go out there and you take a stand and you argue against this and you hammer Donald Trump with his take his old tweets and say, you fucking moron, you said, quote, what I am saying is stay out of Syria. We should stop talking, stay out of Syria and other countries that hate us, rebuild our own country. Hit him over the head with his own fucking tweets. Say, I agree with Donald Trump. I agree with Donald Trump in 2013 on this issue. He was right. But guess what? Now all of a sudden he has power. Now he has power. Now he's in with the elites and the establishment, and he loves it. He doesn't hate Hillary Clinton. He wishes he was Hillary Clinton, because nobody gets more fawning adoration and love from the establishment than Hillary Clinton, because she's a warmongering corporatist neoliberal. Well, now we have Trump, a warmongering corporatist neoconservative, and that's what the fuck he is. If you're bombing 8 countries, and he is, if you're saying we should do torture, and he is, you're a neocon warmonger. That's what you are. And of course, you're a corporatist. Look at your fucking tax bill. So you're a joke, Trump. You're a fraud. You're a ridiculous human being. You don't have a single moral or ethical bone in your body or principled bone in your body. You're being manipulated by the dumbest fucking people on earth. Anybody could see through fucking John Bolton. All you have to do is fact check one of his goddamn comments, one of his positions. Just fact check it. He's like Bill Kristol. Wrong about everything. Wrong about fucking everything. But no, he's on TV. He's on TV. I like people who are on TV. I like Fox. Fox is tremendous. Fox is unbelievable. They do unbelievable work. They do incredible work. Listen, what we have to do is we have to get more people from Fox in my administration. That's what we have to do. Let me just tell you. And that's what he did. He's got fucking Heather Nauert or whatever her name is. She was on Fox News. Now she's like the spokesperson for the State Department. What the fuck? This is madness. This is madness. He was considering for the VA. One of the Fox and Friends hosts. The Fox and Friends hosts have a collective IQ of 14, and this guy wanted to put one of them in charge of the fucking VA. And now he's got Bolton in his administration. God damn it, man. Your money pays for this. My money pays for this. If you're listening to this and you live in the U.S., your money pays for this. This is what my money pays for, too. When we pay taxes, this is what our money goes towards. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. If I knew that my tax money was going towards universal college, paying off student loan debt, Medicare for all, if it was going towards a giant infrastructure project to give people jobs and to make our country look pristine and immaculate, make our our infrastructure the envy of the world like it once was, I'd be happy to pay I would literally be happy when I'm paying my taxes. I would say, yes, go ahead, take the money. I'm happy. Even if it wasn't mandatory in the sense that it's taxes, I would probably willingly give that money for those specific issues. But no, they take our money and they fucking hold people in extrajudicial prisons, fucking torture people, give ExxonMobil a giant corporate welfare check, give Wall Street a giant corporate welfare check, bomb 8 different countries. Are you and then they have the nerve to try to package it to us like this moral panic about Assad right now. This moral panic. Like the same people who've been massacring civilians from day one in the United States suddenly care about dead civilians in Syria. By the way, again, without providing any evidence that the blame should be put on Assad. So give me a fucking break. You know, Noam Chomsky said it best. You want to stop terrorism? There's an easy way. Stop participating in it. You know what that means? Fucking stop arming Saudi Arabia as they massacre innocent women and children in Yemen. That's what they're doing right now. They're blockading the country. They're starving the country. There are millions of people who are starving in Yemen right now. Nobody's fucking talking about it. They're not allowing in treatment. There's a cholera epidemic. Cholera. They could prevent that, but they're not letting them fucking medicine in. They're bombing mosques and hospitals and schools. They're doing it with weapons we give them. So we are fueling a genocide, aiding and abetting a genocide right now. I'm not mincing words here. That's crystal clear. We are aiding and abetting and partaking in a fucking genocide. But instead of saying, oh, you know how we can stop one of these horrible situations occurring in the world? Stop arming Saudi Arabia. Maybe sanction them. How about that? Nope, none of that. Oh, we have to militarily invade somewhere and bomb somewhere. Isn't it funny? Whenever there's this moral panic, it's never like, oh my God, moral panic. People are starving. Let's go get them food. It's always moral panic. We need to drop more bombs. What? You want to have a moral panic? Have a moral panic over the fact that you are partaking in a genocide right now. You're not partaking in any genocide in Syria, or you shouldn't be. You should be out of Syria. That's not you. You are partaking in a genocide in Yemen. So stop giving the fucking weapons to Saudi Arabia. You want to be a do-gooder? Do that. You want to be a do-gooder? Stop arming Israel, who literally just shot 6 journalists. They were shooting innocent protesters in Gaza. You want to stop fucking terrorism? Stop arming the terror state. Stop arming Israel. Stop arming Saudi Arabia. Then you can look in the mirror and not feel shitty. But instead, we arm Israel, we arm Saudi Arabia, and then we have a fake moral panic. Oh my God, Syria, human rights violations. How about you worry about the human rights violations you're committing first? How about that? How about you shut down Guantanamo Bay? How about you stop torturing people? How about you send the war criminals in the U.S. to jail? How about that? How about you, pay restitution to Iraq for fucking obliterating the country and killing minimum 200,000 civilians? How about that? You're so concerned about terrorism. Well, then fucking clean up your own house, bitch, because you're committing a lot of it. But nope. Fake moral panic. All of a sudden, Donald Trump, who wants to ban the Syrian refugees from coming to the U.S., now all of a sudden, bleeding heart, I care so much about these Syrian refugees. I care so much about them, which is why I fucking banned them and said on the campaign trail we should ban all Muslims from coming into the U.S. Holy shit, I knocked out my own fucking earpiece. Anyway, that was funny. Oh, God damn it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to go to Syria. They're going to go to fucking Syria. They're going to go to Syria. I mean, we're already there. Don't get me wrong. We're already bombing there. We've already been there for a while. But I think they want to really, really go there on some Iraq type shit now. So, All right, that's terrible. It's fucking terrible. By the way, guys, I haven't looked yet. If you're doing super chats, don't do them just yet. Wait a little bit. I'll tell you when I'm ready to accept some super chats. I still got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. So, Rachel Maddow. Here we go. Rachel Maddow, by the way, she's been a strong voice on this Syria issue, hasn't she? Here's Rachel Maddow's commentary on Syria. Wonderful. Oh, Rachel, hero, resistance hero. Thank you, Rachel. You're so wonderful. She now is the #1 cable news host in the country. #1. Now, if you told me this and the year was, I don't know, fucking 2008, even if you told me in maybe 2011, I would have said, that's great. I'm happy that Rachel Maddow is the #1 cable news host. I'm happy about that because I distinctly remember back in the Air America days, and then even when she was on MSNBC for a while, she wasn't bad. There was even a time when she called out the Obama administration because Obama increased the war in Afghanistan. He kept sending more troops there. And she did a segment where she basically called that out. And I remember watching that going, damn, that's awesome. So she's being like kind of principled. And she's not just saying, I'm going to blindly follow the Democrats. I'm going to call out Obama for not getting out of Afghanistan. He should get out of Afghanistan. Well, at some point, Rachel Maddow probably made a decision. I don't think this was like a natural evolution. I mean, maybe it was a natural evolution. I don't really know what's going on inside her head, but it strikes me like it appears like she made a decision where she was like, I'm going to be as hacky and partisan as I could possibly be. And, listen, man, it worked for Fox News. Fox News decided one day they probably decided from the beginning in their fucking mission statement, what we are going to do is we are going to be the Republican Apologist Network. That's what we are. So we are the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. That's what we are. So, get used to it. And what happened was, even though they're doing propaganda for the establishment Republicans, there was a market that was waiting. There was a market that was waiting for that, and they tapped into that market, and they really gave that market exactly what they wanted. And there are plenty of partisan Republicans in the country where, it doesn't matter the actual issues. They just want to play for a team. And the team is the red team, and they're all about it. They'll sit there and watch all day. Back in the day, they would watch Hannity, and they would watch O'Reilly, and they could just sit there and digest that shit all day long. Well, they got to #1 in the ratings, and they fucking crushed in the ratings. And you always had MSNBC and CNN were distant, way behind. Well, it looks to me like Rachel Maddow decided, I'm going to be the Democratic equivalent of that. I'm going to be the Democratic Kennedy. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be the Democratic Kennedy. So that means, nuance, forget nuance, throw nuance out the window. Whatever the Democratic Party line is, I will do that line, put it on steroids. I would do that line. That sounds funny. I'll do that line. I'll put it on steroids, and I'm going to attract an audience that way. And God damn it, she was right. I don't think she has any integrity left. I don't think she's principled by any stretch of the imagination. I don't even think she really cares about the individual policy issues. I really don't. I don't think she cares. I think if you were to talk to her about the actual policy substance, if you were to talk to her about Medicare for all, if you were to talk to her about war, I don't think she has strong opinions. I just think she doesn't really think about it. She doesn't really care about it. She's playing a partisan game. And I was wrong about something. I was wrong because, I've always been of the belief that if you give people the option of principled and you give people the option of thoughtful commentary, that wins no matter what. I still think that's true. But what I was wrong about is I also assumed that, hey, if you're a partisan hack, that just won't do well. That's not true. That second part is not true. I think it is true that if you give people principled on the issues, thoughtful commentary, they will like it. But I don't think it's true at all that, if you're partisan, they won't like you. Nope. That's not true at all. Maddow's #1 being the most rank partisan hack I've ever seen in my life. Even The Onion sees it. The Onion, did a piece the other day, and they've been really killing it lately with their satirical pieces. That's what they are. I mean, everything they do is satirical. It's The Onion. But they said Rachel Maddow spends a show just angrily screaming at a picture of Putin, basically. Pretty much. I mean, that's what it is. That's what she's been doing. This is her thing. Her thing is, what are the Democrats talking about today? Stormy Daniels. Great. Let's talk about Stormy Daniels. What are they talking about? Russia? Okay, we're going to talk about Russia. My other favorite one is they're talking about high turnover in Trump's administration. I mean, you want to talk about a non-substantive issue to discuss? Who cares? Who cares? Of all the things Trump did and his fucking administration did, that's what you're going to focus on? High turnover in his administration? Who gives a flying? Imagine Bernie Sanders was president and he had high turnover. Do you have any idea how many negative fucks I would give? I would break the negative fucks given meter. Like, I would look at people who make that argument like, oh yeah, he's hired and fired too many people. And I'd be like, do you have like a broken brain? Do you have it like an issue up there? Because that's what it looks like. But this is what these guys talk about all day fucking long. And the saddest thing is it works. And, you know, it really is toxic. It really is toxic because, again, I'm of the belief if you give people the option of principled, thoughtful commentary and you give them real news and information, that they'll watch. And I think this show is one show that largely shows that that's correct. But you don't have that option in the mainstream. You don't have it. You know, who in the mainstream is just keeping it real with you and telling you and talking about, you know, war issues, talking about issues that affect workers and the economy and income inequality. I mean, look at what's happening with the West Virginia teacher strike where they succeeded. What's happening in Oklahoma right now with the teacher strike. These are the things that deserve the hand-wringing commentary all day long where you focus on it ad nauseum. But instead, they focus on the bullshit. Russia, Stormy Daniels, high turnover in the administration. It drives me fucking crazy. So am I happy that Rachel Maddow is number one? No. I think it's terrible. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's a terrible thing for the country. I think she's a rank partisan hack. She doesn't talk about serious issues. I wish she would talk about serious issues. If she started talking about serious issues, I would immediately come out here and say, guys, she's doing a good job now. But she's not doing that. She's gotten worse and worse as time has gotten by. So it's just disgusting. It's really sad. It's really fucking disgusting. So Rachel Maddow's number one host doing scaremongering all day and all night about Russia. Wonderful. And again, I'll ask you guys, what is her take on the actual policy issues involving Russia? What's her take on the actual issues? So, okay, if you were to ask me, for example, hey, what do I think of, sanctioning them for what they did in Crimea? I'd say, sure, that makes sense. I get sanctioning them over the Crimea situation. If you ask me, hey, should we have NATO troops on their border right now? I'd say, nope. That is a clear provocation. That's an offensive step. That's us saying we will go to a hot war over, or we're threatening a hot war right this second if NATO's on your border. If you ask me, hey, should we send ships, U.S. warships into the Black Sea right by Russia's border? I say nope. Because if they did that to us and they were in the fucking Gulf of Mexico, our finger would be on the nuclear button right now. But we expect them like, no, we get to fuck with you in any way we want and you can't respond. So if you ask me about the actual Russia policy issues, I'll give you answers and I'll tell you exactly what my belief is and why I believe those things. And you could disagree with me on some of those, of course, and we could have that conversation. I know there are plenty of people on the left who don't agree with my exact take on the various issues involving Russia. But when you look at somebody like Maddow, you don't even know what she believes on the... Actually, that's not true. There's one thing you know. She is in favor of the NATO troops on the border because she argued if Trump were to remove those troops, that proves that Vladimir Putin has the pee-pee tape on him. So now they're giving, Trump an incentive to keep those troops on the border because if he pulls it back, you're so weak. And this is the Democratic resistance. This is the problem, is that when Rachel Maddow actually bothers to, tell you what she believes on an actual policy issue involving Russia, she's to the right of Trump, which is a huge problem. And then the other half of the time, she doesn't even fucking tell you what she believes on the issues. And all it is fear mongering. And oh my God, Russia's bad, Russia's bad, Russia's bad. But she was able to coast all the way to fucking number one in the ratings. And that's devastating. And that's heartbreaking. And I just wish in the mainstream media, there was an option of somebody who kept it real and spoke about the actual policy issues. But unfortunately, it looks like you don't have that option. So here we are. And that's why you got to come online and come to YouTube in order to try to find outlets that are talking about the substantive issues that matter. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about what happened to a video that Abby Martin put up. So Abby Martin interviewed Max Blumenthal recently for her show, Empire Files. And it was titled, Jewish American on Israel's Fascism, No Hope for Change from Within. Now, if Abby had asked me before doing that titling that, and I don't know if she personally titles it, but if somebody from her team or whatever had asked me, hey, what do you think of this title? I would say, yeah, you could do that title, but I'm just going to let you know up front, they're going to demonetize the fuck out of that. I mean, instantly. It's funny. Any video that mentions Israel, it's one of the first and the quickest to get demonetized on YouTube. And don't take my word for it. Go ahead and you could ask the Humanist Report. I'm sure he's noticed it. You could ask Jimmy Dore. I'm sure he's noticed it. I mean, it is fucking instant demonetization. Fuck you on the review. You try to review it. First of all, when you ask to have a video reviewed, it says, oh, you need to get 1,000 views on the video before it gets reviewed. So you have to get over a certain threshold in the first place to even qualify for the review, which screws a lot of fucking people, by the way. We might be okay in that respect, but there's plenty of people they're not okay with. Like they maybe their views get around 900 views or whatever. Maybe their videos get around 900 views. But I would have told Abby, listen, that title's going to get demonetized, but by all means, you can go ahead and put that title. Now, Abby's principled, so I would expect her to say, I don't really care that it gets demonetized. I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to put it there because it's true. Like, that's the topic we're talking about. This is what Max Blumenthal said. So, yeah, we're going to put it out there. So, not only was it, I'm sure it was demonetized. 100% sure of it. I don't even need to ask. I haven't seen any other, anything in writing about, oh, it was demonetized, but I'm 100% sure it was demonetized. And here's how I know that. Because not only was it demonetized, it was censored and blocked in about 20 countries, including Israel and the UK. They got a message sent to them, to the Empire Files channel. And it says, this is blocked in, and it gives a list of over 20 countries. So what this means is, in no uncertain terms, we went after Facebook recently because there was information that came out about how they're working with governments, and in fact, they're working with repressive governments. And if those governments say, listen, we don't allow dissent in this country, so you're gonna cut off that page, you're gonna cut off that page. Facebook has been working with these dictatorial regimes to do their bidding so that they allow Facebook, all Facebook cares about is money. So, hey, we're gonna make more money. But in order to do that, we need to abide by whatever these governments tell us to do, no matter how dictatorial or authoritarian the government is. So, Zuckerberg might pretend like, oh, I'm a lefty. Fuck off. You're nowhere near that. You kowtow to authoritarian regimes in an instant. But not only is Facebook doing that, now YouTube is doing that too. That's what that shows me. Because there are some places, for example. Now, my guess is they are taking Abby Martin and Max Blumenthal, and they are trying to lump them in with like Holocaust denial, which, by the way, they don't deny the Holocaust, but they're trying to lump in their content because they called Israel fascist. They're trying to lump that in with Holocaust denial. So all the different countries that have laws against denying the Holocaust, and many of them do in Europe, for example, they say, okay, well, we now legally can censor you and ban you for talking about Israel in this kind of way that they view as derogatory, but in reality, it's just critical. It's factual too, by the way, but it's critical. So this is what we're dealing with. And hey, where are all the free speech warriors on this one? All the people on the right who pretend to care about free speech, but literally the only time they actually bring it up is when it's some asshole racist right-winger who's being censored. Now, by the way, I'm on the record 100% on this. I will defend the assholes on free speech ground. I have no problem doing that at all. But just understand that when these people on the right talk about free speech, it's a trick. Because if they actually cared about the issue, the first thing they would do is they would make a point to discuss it when they disagree with the people involved. And I haven't seen any fucking right-wing support for Abby Martin. Have you? I haven't seen it. I'd love to see it. I haven't seen it. So it's just a fucking shame. And Abby's 100% right, by the way. She does some great work. Max does some great work as well. And this is what happens. You criticize powerful people. You criticize, the Israeli government. And this is the clearest crackdown on free speech I've ever seen in my life. And this is what always happens. If anybody who's begging Silicon Valley to filter us, save us from fake news, please do that. Just know that this is going to be the result. They're going to say what Abby Martin's factual report on what Israel's doing, that's fake news. So you have to We have to censor that, ban that, literally, and you're not allowed to see that because that's fake news or that's so offensive. So who the fuck do they think they are? This is what happens when you let the establishment control what you see and what you don't see. And it's just sad, man. It's just really sad. And by the way, Israel has been, going nuts recently, shooting peaceful Palestinian protesters. They shot 6 journalists recently. One guy, he died. He was wearing a big thing that said press, and they killed him. But I'm sure that was an accident. It's just a fucking accident. That's all that is. The occupier happened to kill the people who were exposing their atrocities, but just an accident. And God forbid you question the motives of the pure, Israeli government. Their intentions are so wonderful that we're supposed to look the other way or act like they meant well when they shot 6 journalists. I mean, think of how big of a sucker you'd have to be to believe that. I mean, we're talking about peaceful protesters here, gunned down. We covered the story on the show. People literally running away from the border who got gunned down, running away. And now it's journalists too. So, but don't worry. The U.S. is really concerned about human rights. This is what they tell me. This is why they're so concerned about what's happening in Syria, that we're getting real serious with Israel. We're going to cut off all the weapons we give them. We're going to sanction them. Hey, man, John Bolton is considering invading fucking Israel over their human rights abuses and their permanent occupation. See, this is the point. Notice how arbitrary the human rights concerns are. It's like, oh, we care so much about human rights, which is why we're going to overlook completely when our allied regimes abuse human rights nonstop. But when somebody who we already wanted to do regime change, when they act that way, oh, obviously we got to go in and invade because all we care about is human rights. We're so objective in our concern about this. Fuck off, man. Fuck off. Okay, so I'm not done yet. I still got some stuff I want to talk about, but I have to go tinkle. So I will be right back, and then we'll do that. And then as soon as I'm done covering the rest of the stuff I want to cover, I'll end up taking some super chats. So stay right there and enjoy the look of the Secular Talk office ceiling. Guess who's back again. Suck me off. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Okay. I gotta get the angles just right here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep it real. Mostly gentlemen. Not that many ladies in this audience. I think I'm on like 85%. Men, something like that. But that's more of a social media thing than just my show. Like on virtually all of social media, it's like mostly dudes. So hashtag big seltzer, bitch. Actually, this one is not actually technically seltzer. It's sparkling water. I think that's supposed to make it sound more classy. Like, me, bro? I don't drink seltzer. I drink sparkling water. Okay. I mean, not for nothing. They don't send me any money, but every seltzer company in this country should send me money because I have gotten messages like, I literally bought seltzer because of you. I was like, that's crazy. I'm not even actually like getting paid by them by hashtag Big Seltzer, but people are actually buying it because they always see me drinking it. And I think my argument is pretty persuasive for it, because what did I say on Kyle and Corn? That so I don't like drinking just water, even though you should. It's the right thing to do. But I also used to love soda, but soda's just really, really, really shitty for you. Like, people really don't understand just how shitty soda is for you. It is really shitty for you. So there's a compromise there. There is a compromise between drinking water all day and doing like Trump does, where he drinks fucking Diet Cokes all day. There's a compromise. The compromise is, why not have the bubbly goodness of soda with water? It's genius. It's funny, but the first time I had seltzer, I was like, this is bullshit, because I was used to drinking soda. So when I drank the seltzer, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is like a tease. It's almost soda, but it's not soda. So fuck this. But then over time, you realize that's a great compromise between water and drinking soda all day. So anyway. All right, what was I talking about before? Oh, let's talk about the Saudi prince's tour. This is how you know the so-called human rights concerns in the U.S. are so fucking hollow. Look at the elitist media, and look at politicians in the U.S. They are fawning over the Saudi prince. Oh my God. This guy is fucking in the midst of destroying Yemen with our help. We're partners in crime with them on that. Committing a genocide. And he's been in the U.S. He's taking cutesy pictures with George W. Bush and George H.W. Bush, and they're tweeting their fawning love and adoration for each other. I even think he was he with Ellen? I think he was with Ellen. Did I see that correctly? I think I saw picture on Twitter of the fucking Saudi prince with Ellen. Oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with people, dude? What are you doing? So there really is this thing that happens where if you meet somebody in person, it tends to disarm you to the point where you feel bad criticizing them. And like, so in other words, somebody could be just a historical fucking monster and could be doing the most hideous thing. But if you're like face to face with that person and you meet that person and they're just like kind to you, you think like, they can't be that bad because they were like nice to me, you know, they did my fucking shitty media tour. So, and that's just a terrible fucking way of thinking. And that's why, by the way, like, I don't ever want to be part of that club. I don't want to be part of the elitist media club. I don't want to be put in a situation where you put me in a room with fucking John Bolton and I'm supposed to have casual conversation with that motherfucker. But if you're in Washington, D.C., if you're in Democratic or Republican circles, if you're in establishment circles, they've had conversations with that guy and they might like him on a personal level, you know? And then you lose perspective as to what that person actually is and what they've done. And I feel that way about George W. Bush, too, with his media revival tour. And now it's a majority of Democrats that even like him. And like, no. They did torture. They invaded a country that didn't attack us and killed minimum 200,000 people. He was horrendous. He's a criminal. So it's just sad. And it just goes to show you how easy it is to manipulate the media in the U.S. It's just so easy to manipulate them. And this is what Noam Chomsky warned about, manufacturing consent. You have corporate media is more sycophantic to U.S. institutions and U.S. power than state media is to other governments. So somebody could be a state media outlet and gets funded by a government, and they fall in line less to that government that directly funds them than corporate media does to the U.S. government. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that, 6 different companies control virtually all the airwaves. And so it's a very narrow perspective that you're getting because these people own the airwaves and then they only hire people and filter them up through if they are willing to portray the world through the filter that they agree with. So that's why you don't see a lot of talk about income inequality. You don't see a lot of coverage of workers protesting to get better wages or unionization. You don't see a lot of coverage of war in a critical light So the people who own these outlets are the same people who are at the cocktail parties in Washington, D.C. with elite politicians and who are, buddy on Wall Street with everybody on Wall Street, all the executives on Wall Street and the owner class on Wall Street. So you get this view of the world that's just so fucking skewed. I mean, we have war criminals doing a media tour in the U.S. That's what it is. That's what's going on. And it's funny because the only people who really, even people who mean well, who watch this stuff, can get duped by it, because you have to read about this stuff on a regular basis, know about this stuff in order to be able to go, oh shit, that's a war criminal that they're fucking, whatever, playing some board game with and trying to be goofy and affable and likable. So it's just a goddamn shame. And it's the poverty of real information that's out there that makes that the case, where Benjamin Netanyahu can come to the U.S. and get a fucking hero's welcome, where, the Saudi crown prince can come here and be adored by the media and by politicians. And, it's our job. It's the media's job. We're supposed to be the ones who go, no, that's bullshit. And here's why that's bullshit. This guy's a criminal. This guy's terrible. This guy's wrong. But unfortunately, that's hardly ever done. You only see it on, outlets like this. So going back to the YouTube thing for a second. And by the way, you could start sending in super chats and I'll get to them. I just have two more quick things to talk about, and then I'll get to your questions for a super chat. Okay. So YouTube admitted to changing the algorithm. Now, they've admitted it in like a weird, sly kind of way by accident a few months ago, but now they admitted it. And what they do is they prioritize just by when you release stuff now. So that didn't used to be the case. It used to be like if a video does well, then it will be promoted more. But now it's just, okay, whatever order shit was released. So think about somebody like me. I'm in news and politics. I release a decent number of videos. You know who releases a lot more videos than me? CNN. You know who else does? MSNBC. You know who else does? Fox News. So if you prioritize it by when the videos are released, well then by its very nature, you're going to prioritize the mainstream outlets because they just are able to put out way more stuff than I am and than any independent outlet is. So that's a sly way that they disadvantage us. Now, another thing they did is if you're a subscriber of the show, it's not guaranteed that my video is going to show up for you. So you subscribe to the show because you want to see when I release a video. But it's not guaranteed to show you when I'm doing a live stream or when I release a video. So they were saying, well, we don't want to spam people. Spam people? You subscribe to the show, so you want to get the stuff. So what the fuck you mean spamming? That's not spamming. It's not spamming by any stretch of the imagination. But now, basically, as I understand it, you basically have to subscribe and click the bell in order to make sure that you know when I'm releasing videos. And Humanist Report did a good piece on this. Jimmy Dore did a good piece on this. They've seen it. I've seen it. It just takes a hatchet to your views. Like the floor for my views now is much lower than it used to be. So I wish they would just stop fucking with the algorithm and go back to what it was when it was seemingly more of a meritocracy. But I don't expect them to ever do the right thing. And it's just a shame. And that's why we have to go directly to you guys and tell you. So if you're subscribed, and you can handle the notifications all the time, please click the bell too, because subscribing and clicking the bell now is like what it used to be when you would just subscribe. So I would really appreciate that if you do that. Now, final thing, CNN has a guy named Bakari Sellers who works for them, and he smeared Bernie Sanders on the anniversary of MLK's assassination. Bernie Sanders made some comments about how the Democratic Party is failing. They've been failing for about 10 years, longer than that, actually. And he said about Obama, in the midst of those comments, we kind of forgot about the dire state of the Democratic Party when this guy came along and he was a wonderful politician and he had a lot of charisma. So that's what he said about Obama. But Bakari Sellers said, rest in peace, Bernie 2020. It died on this day. because he dared to say Obama. He wasn't even mildly critical of Obama. I would have been more critical of Obama. This idea that you're not allowed to critique the first black president on the anniversary of MLK's assassination is preposterous. And the most important reason why it's preposterous is that MLK himself would have critiqued Obama. He absolutely, we're not supposed to do hero worship. Now, it turns out there are some people who acted a lot more like heroes in the world. MLK is one of them. So I understand the fawning adoration over a guy like MLK. But for a guy like Obama, in some ways he was good, in other ways he was terrible. You know, ask the fucking people who got blown up in a drone by him, 90% drone death rate. Ask those people how Obama was. You know, they have a very different story to tell. They didn't prosecute a single banker. They didn't prosecute a single war criminal from the Bush administration. Don't tell me we can't critique Obama on any day of the year. We should be able to. But the thing is, Bernie didn't even really do that. But they smeared him as if he was doing that, and they're trying to say rest in peace to his 2020 chances. Absolute nonsense. Bernie Sanders is going to, if he runs, do fantastic in 2020, and he'll likely be our next president. But the establishment wants to see him fail, which is why they're saying stuff like that. Okay, we got super chats coming in now, so let's take them. Speaking of this, I'm subbed and hit the bell and still didn't get notifications about this stream. Jesus Christ, man. They're just trying to fucking... Look, I don't know how much of this you could just pawn off to run-of-the-mill glitches, but it certainly doesn't feel that way because it happens all the fucking time. It's so persistent that there's all these changes, and the changes always happen to hurt independent creators. Please do more content such as call-ins, guests, education. Content feels stale and repetitive. P.S. You and my friend made me a lefty. Changed my life. Well, I'm very happy that we ended up making you a lefty. That's wonderful. There's a lot of things that could do that to you. If you read some Chomsky, that'll change most people's minds pretty quickly. Do you think that World War III is inevitable, and would you even ever consider fleeing the U.S.? I don't know if it's inevitable, but it's becoming more and more likely as time goes by when you have both political parties in the U.S. escalating nonstop, and it seems like nobody's willing to put the brakes on this thing. Would I ever consider fleeing the U.S. if I had to? Sure. I mean, what, you think I'm going to go fucking fight in a war that we shouldn't even be doing in the first place? Fuck out of here. This isn't like World War II where we fought the Nazis and it was like obviously the moral thing to do to fight the Nazis. You know, all these wars that we're bombing 8 different countries. We don't need to be doing any of them. You think a war with Russia is inevitable? No. We're making it so that it's likely, but there's so many, you know, off-ramps on this highway towards World War III, and we're refusing to take them by choice. So hell no, I wouldn't fucking, if I was conscripted to go fight in World War III, fuck off. You shouldn't be sending us to war. There shouldn't be a war. I would have been able to get us peace in a relatively simple way. Hey, Kyle, big fan since late 2015 when I was confused if I should be Christian. Now I am an atheist. Thank you. Anyway, will you show us your girlfriend on the show and talk about her? No, I will not do that. There's a reason why I don't talk about her a lot. She doesn't want to be talked about. So no more talk about her. YouTube has given us the ability to block people in chat. Why not push YouTube to have the ability to block channels? Can block the MSM channels and algorithm go fuck itself. That's a good idea. Bernie or guillotine 2020. Choose your revolution. You know, I think that they should also have blanket monetization for YouTube where they say, they probably already have it, where outlets like CNN, MSNBC, they get blanket monetization. No matter what they put out, it's monetized. But, you know, they should be able to figure out, agree or disagree with me, I shouldn't be demonetized. But no, they don't have, I don't think, if they have blanket monetization, they certainly haven't turned it on for me. But they should have that feature, blanket monetization, and they should turn it on for channels like mine, but they won't do that. Hey, Kyle, Oklahoma is voting on medical weed on June 26th. It is state question 788. Voting yes supports legalization. I don't have a question, just putting this out for any viewers from Oklahoma. Awesome. June 26th, everybody, go vote for legal marijuana in Oklahoma. Definitely go do that. It looks like the Kinder Morgan pipeline is going to be pushed through by his progressiveness, and the Peace River will be destroyed by the Site C Dam. Even good places need to fight. I wish I knew more about what that was, but unfortunately I don't. Forget to ask a question when I sent the last super chat. How do you stop being buddy-buddy with the Saudis, but at the same time not suffer economically in the process? Petrodollar. That's a great question. This is why we need people who, number one, are right on the issues, but number two, very intelligent to be in positions of power, because that's not easy. That's not easy. It's hard to untangle a relationship where we're so economically intertwined, where it is going to be painful if we break up that, that relationship. But I would argue step one is, instead of being sycophantic and letting them get away with whatever they want to get away with, use diplomacy and negotiations and make our relationship more neutral with them and just get them to stop committing the atrocities. That I think we could do without really fucking up the economic situation. But you ask a great question. How do we get to the point where we can not suffer economically and really sever ties with them? That's a much more difficult question, and that would require a lot more strategizing. Good question. Kyle, what are your thoughts about the voluntary human extinction movement? I don't know what that is, but it doesn't sound like I'd support it. I want to preface this question by saying I in no way blame Bernie for Hillary's 2016 loss, but do you think Hillary would have had a better chance against Trump if she had an uncontested primary? No, I don't. It's an interesting question, but I don't think she would have fared well, because Hillary is unique among politicians in that the more she talks, the more everybody hates her. So she would have fucked it up, because she would have been listening to her Democratic strategist behind the scenes who said, run further right, be more moderate, be more centrist, be more corporatist, reach out to moderate Republicans, and she would have destroyed herself in the process because she wouldn't have been populist at all. I think Bernie actually pushed her to be a better candidate, because Bernie got her to say, I'm against TPP, even though she wasn't, but she got her to say it. So he was pushing her to the left a little, but it wasn't nearly enough. She needed 3 Bernies in the race to push her way to the left, so that then maybe she would have been able to beat Trump. Why are you so cute? Seriously, though, I watch you every damn day. Have been for over 2 years. I click the bell and still don't get notified. Fuck. I have to go to your Twitter to get the new views. I noticed that the view count for this Secular Talking Smack is lower than the previous ones. And I'm speculating that maybe the shitty notification system is why. Because usually, we would get like 4,000 or 5,000 for the other Secular Talking Smacks, right? And we're nowhere near that right now. So thank you, YouTube, and your shitty algorithm. Go fuck yourself. Somehow, Tim, I lost to Mike Pence in a debate, even though he said and did nothing while I raved like a madman. Kane doesn't have a Dem challenger. Yeah. Hey, Justice Democrats, if you're watching, get on that. Get on a Tim Kaine challenger, because he's one of the worst. When do you plan on educating yourself about Marxism? I hear you say a lot of dumb stuff about Marxism when you bring it up. Otherwise, you're amazing. Easily better than TYT. Listen, man, I have a little bit of a message to all the people who watch me who are Marxists. You have to stop assuming that if somebody doesn't agree with you on Marxism, that they just don't get Marxism. That's a lot like what libertarians say. Like, libertarians are like, when do you plan on learning about economics? And it's like, no, how about I get your arguments and I don't agree with them? How about that? So if you're a Marxist and you listen to the show and you like this show, thank you. I'm glad to have you on board. I'm glad that you listen to the show. But just know that when you come to the show, you're not getting a perspective that you totally agree with. And that's fine. You're getting more of a social democratic perspective from this show. That's where I fall on the political spectrum. If somebody wants to start up a Marxist show and be overtly Marxist and you agree with that person more, hey man, power to them. And I have nothing against that. And in fact, I like the fact that there are people to the left of me in the political spectrum. There should be, because we need to shift the debate to the left. But just understand, I just don't agree with you. It's not that, I must not get it because I don't agree with you. So, and I think that's one of the really frustrating things about many of the people who are Marxists who I've had interaction with, is that there's this smug assumption that, like, well, obviously you just don't get it. No, it's possible to fucking get it and not agree. Sorry. But anyway, thank you for watching. Didn't get much coverage, but we actually killed a bunch of Russians with an airstrike a few months ago. Putin put a lot of effort into burying it, but how many more times can we do that before he's forced to respond in kind? That's what's so scary about this, is that with the willy-nilly bombing of Syria and escalating further with the NATO troops on Russia's border and the military ships right on the Black Sea right by them, like, this stuff is real serious, and it escalates big time, and it's almost like we're begging for a war, and that needs to stop. And you need to have, but the entire political spectrum in Washington, D.C., everybody that's there is saying, hey, we need to go further in the direction of sanctions and more escalation. And that's what's so scary about this. I want to preface this. Already did that one. Hello from Rochester, New York. Love the show. I feel like upstate New York is completely ignored and politicians in New York don't care. There is no economic mobility here. When will upstate New York get the attention it desperately needs? Dylan Radigan is running in upstate New York, and I think he's running a great campaign, and he's talking about a lot of those issues. But you're right. This is what happens. I feel like with a lot of smug corporate Democrats, they disregard, more rural areas. And that's not just in New York. It's everywhere around the country. Hillary just said it in India. Like, I won the places that make up 2/3 of the U.S.'s GDP. You know what that is? That's Gordon Gekko. That's what that is. Measuring somebody's worth by the size of their wallet. So all the places that are economically downtrodden, they're just backwards and primitive, and we need to, forget about those people anyway. No, they fucking count. Those people count. And we should be doing stuff like a New Deal in order to try to, reinvigorate manufacturing in the U.S. so that people get jobs. Kyle, what are your thoughts about the voluntary human extinction movement? I already did that. I'm trying to keep up here, guys. Sorry. What are your thoughts about the voluntary blah, blah, blah? Didn't get much coverage, but we actually killed Russians that did that. Oh, I forgot to ask. LOL, I live in Indiana, and yeah, it sucks. Do you know if JD are planning on running any candidates? Joe Donnelly needs to go. No, I don't, Kelly. Unfortunately, I don't. But if you go to the Justice Democrats website, you can see all of their candidates, and they constantly update it whenever they launch new ones, and they have a lot of them. So maybe there actually are some running in Indiana. I'm not sure. Have you heard the song My City by the rapper OC? It features a sample of secular talk in the intro. Also, check out Perestroika by Apathy. Okay, hold on. Let me write this down. My City. That's pretty badass that they use the fucking secular talk clip. Perestroika. Okay. Man, my chicken scratch writing is fucking terrible. That's really bad. Barely read it. Okay. I'll check that out. Thanks. TYT says repeatedly, blame the advertisers for demonetization on this site. Right. Blame the advertisers. No, I blame YouTube. They're shitty fucking policies that try to bury independent content creators. Fair enough. I came off like a dink. We're Marxists, just used to conservatives and liberals just spouting garbage. Sorry for assuming you didn't get it. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. And again, I like the fact that people listen to my show who are to the left of me, but I come as advertised. If I don't agree with you, it's because I don't agree with you. But that being said, I like that there are people to the left of me because they're there and they drag the spectrum back to the left, which is nothing but a good thing. As an atheist from Egypt, I often wonder if there are a lot of non-theists in the Middle East, but they just have to keep their voices low. Thoughts? Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who are either they say they're religious, okay? Like in Egypt specifically, they'll say, yeah, I'm Muslim, but they view Islam as in the same way that they view themselves being Egyptian. Like, yes, I'm part of this thing. We'll call it Islam. I will call myself a Muslim, but it stops there. Like, okay, that's the group I'm part of. Like, I'm also an Egyptian. I'm part of that group. And for a lot of people, it's just like, that's, okay, I'm Muslim, I'm Egyptian, but that doesn't entail anything. It just entails, I guess I believe in God, and I guess I'm part of this larger group, but that's it. And they don't look into the other aspects of the religion, or they just don't care enough, or they're just apathetic and they live their life in a secular way. I think there's a lot of those people, not just in Egypt, but the rest of the world in theocracies. And then, of course, there are people who they'll stop and think more about it, and they don't even want that thing to be part of their identity anymore. Like, I was raised in a Catholic household. For a long time, if you were to ask me when I was younger, are you Catholic? I'd go, yeah, I guess I'm Catholic, but it was just the same thing as describing myself as an American. Like, yeah, I'm an American. I live in America. Yeah, I'm Catholic. I was born into a Catholic family. But nothing went into that. When people actually stop and learn more about their religion and they dare to be critical, then they either become agnostics or atheists. And I think there are a lot of people who describe themselves as part of a religion, but who are just super secular in the process. And there are a lot more people who are agnostic and atheistic. And yeah, I think there's a decent number of those in the Middle East, for sure. Hey, Kai, I love the show. When are we getting another debate? I know you hate it, but it really helped us learn how to win arguments, and it was very satisfying what you did to Razor Fist. I don't have anything planned at the moment, but I'm not totally shut out to the idea of debates. I'm just not a general fan of them. You have shown that you do not understand Marxism in many aspects. However, you seem to think it requires a blank slate, which is completely false. I'm not saying it requires a blank slate. I hate how you have to listen to the nuances of an argument. I'm not saying Marxism requires a blank slate. I'm saying that many people who are Marxists believe that human beings are a blank slate. It's not required to be a Marxist, but many Marxists have that are of that belief that human beings are infinitely malleable. So if human beings are infinitely malleable, then we can tweak our economic and political system where it can basically be as perfect in real life as communism is on paper. And I don't happen to agree with that. I don't think that's true. I don't think a blank slate is true. And I don't agree with communism, but at the same time, I understand that it's not, one doesn't necessarily follow the other. But it certainly is true that many communists are of that belief that, hey, human beings are infinitely malleable, so we have this perfect system on paper, and that system will work in real life because if human beings are infinitely malleable, then we can make it so that people can do from each according to their ability to each according to their need. We can craft a system where, you work as much as you can and get paid what you need to get by. So I actually agree with the incentive structure of profit for many things. I don't agree with it for the basics in life. I don't agree with it for education. I don't agree with it for healthcare. I think we should have a healthy mix of socialism and capitalism. But I do think that there are some things where the free market incentive actually works, where profit and greed is actually something that needs to be harnessed by our economic system. So you could disagree with that, but I think there's just a plethora of evidence that supports the fact that you need an aspect of competition in the society in order for it to function. Any plans on getting reporters or other shows besides yours on secular talk like TYT does? No, I don't. TYT has plans of being, the CNN of the internet, in that they dominate and they're the number one name in news. I don't mean CNN content wise. They certainly fancy themselves, significantly better than CNN. But I think overexpansion is a bad thing. I think that overexpansion ruins a lot of stuff that's good, because once you get too many people involved, once you get too many competing visions involved, it can ruin something that was very pure and had noble motives and was crafted to perfection by a small number of people. So I would never want to lose the original mission and vision of secular talk. So when I die, secular talk dies. Because how am I supposed to trust that the vision of secular talk is going to continue down the same path when I'm no longer at the helm steering it? Maybe somebody is pretty anti-war at one point, and then 40 years after I'm dead and secular talk is still going on, the person who's in control of secular talk turns out to be kind of stumbles across a war that they think it makes perfect sense, even though it's not in self-defense. And then all of a sudden, the brand of secular talk is ruined by somebody who didn't hold true to the original vision. So I think in order for something to be good, it needs to be crafted by a relatively small number of people and needs to be kept close to the chest, and you need to keep it your own. I think when there's too many competing visions and there's overexpansion, there's no way you can guarantee that the original mission is held to. So I'm not like them. I fancy myself as a lot more countercultural than they do on TYT. And that's not to shit on TYT. That's just to say that, I want to be able to say things that are really controversial, that I believe. I never want to be a victim of my own success, if that makes sense. Where you're so big and you're so well known and it's such a large operation that it becomes stale and it becomes like, well, I would say that thing, but I'm no longer small and independent and just doing my own thing. Now I have so many other concerns to worry about. I never want to get to that point. I want to be I like being countercultural. I like only having to care about the truth and objectivity and sticking to my principles. And when it gets so big that that's no longer the main focus, those original things, that now there's so many moving parts of a machine that it's hard to just keep everything in order. I think it's harder to get things to work that way, and it's a headache I'd never want to take on. Okay. Here's a sample of TYT's take on demonetization. Anna Kasparian tweeted on the 5th that the root of the problem is the advertisers. Okay. Can you cover the Mexican elections and how people like McCain are calling him anti-U.S. and can affect immigration and economic policy in the U.S.? Vanessa, I would do that, but it's just I don't know where to find the information for it. Like, the things I cover are the things I see and the things that pique my interest. And I haven't seen any of the outlets I go to cover the election. That's why I haven't covered it. So I can't discuss it if I don't know anything about it. I mean, I could try, but I need to find an outlet I trust, basically. How do you use the extra money you get from Patreon? Hope you donate to progressive candidates and charity. Also, did you grow up rather privileged? So what we're doing for the shirt drive, which, by the way, there's a link in the video description box if you haven't checked it out yet. Half of the money for the shirt drive is going towards basically Justice Democratic candidates and to Wolfpack to try to get money out of politics. So I try to do what I can on that front as much as possible. Obviously, I was a co-founder of Justice Democrats as well, but I'm no longer affiliated with them. But I still support virtually all the candidates. So hopefully we can raise a decent amount of money there where we can donate a lot, thousands, hopefully, to the different Justice Democratic candidates and to Wolfpack. So I try to help out as much as I can on that front. As far as did you grow up rather privileged? To an extent, sure. I'd say yeah. I mean, there were times where I think we were upper middle class, my family. There was also other times where we were middle class, but I certainly never had to worry about where my next meal is coming from, or definitely if you look at the income level of my family growing up, at the worst, in our worst moments, we were still solidly middle class. So I'd say I was somewhat privileged growing up, for sure. I've told the story about how my dad, he retired kind of early. So he owned a Chevy dealership, and he sold it. And he took the money from the sale, and he invested it in the stock market. And he basically lost 90% of the money. He invested in a company called Prodigy. Have you ever heard of that? Exactly. They thought that would be the next Google. They were like, this is going to be the next Google. So my dad was like, we're going to put a lot of money into Prodigy. Basically lost 90% of the money. And then he had to go back to work. So he retired early. We were economically pretty set, and then lost virtually all the money in the stock market. And then we were kind of back to square one. So during the good times, we were upper middle class. During the bad times, we were probably middle class. But yes, I would say I was relatively privileged. But I agree with the idea that if you were raised in relative privilege, you actually have more of a responsibility to try to fix the system and give people equal opportunity. A lot of idiot Republicans look at this and they go, oh, look at him. He was raised rather privileged, and he actually cares about working families and fixing the economic system. My response to that is, yeah, you should. And Chomsky says the more relative privilege you have compared to other people, the more of a responsibility you have to try to fix the system and fight to try to, end wars and stop poverty and reduce income inequality. So I agree with his take on that. When's the next stream with Sargon? A discussion on Trump, Corbyn, and foreign policy would be extremely beneficial for the masses that would tune in, as well as you both, I believe. Also, Marx and Engels, I fucked them. What? You fucked Marx and Engels? Yeah, listen, Sargon and I have done like 4 live streams. I think 4. We've said all we're going to say to each other. He knows my take on stuff. I know his take on stuff. I don't plan on doing another one. So it is what it is. Is there a possibility that Trump wants to fulfill his liberal campaign promises, like the anti-war and trade, but the deep state is blackmailing him behind doors as he has many weaknesses? Stay away from TYT. Do shows with Jimmy and Jordan. Is it possible that Trump... No. Trump said was on both sides of every issue on the campaign trail. 100%. Both sides of every issue. Just like Hillary. Hillary would flip-flop, 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 flip-flop. Mitt Romney, flip-flop, 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 flip-flop. Just nonstop, flip-flopping all over the place. Same with Trump. So I just don't think he believes anything. So when you don't believe anything and you have no principles and you have no core and you have no ideology and there is no substance, you're just a vapid, empty vessel. And when you're a vapid, empty vessel, whoever the last person in the room you spoke to is, that's who you're probably going to go with. And that's what happened. You know, fucking neocon John Bolton is now in the administration. He's doing what John Bolton wants now. You know, so he's railed against Goldman Sachs on the campaign trail. His fucking tax bill was nothing but a giant gift to Wall Street and Goldman Sachs. So he doesn't believe anything. And when you don't believe anything, you're subject to the whims of the other elitists in your administration. And that's exactly what he is. So I don't think there's any chance he delivers on that or wants to deliver on that. He's just doing whatever people around him say should be done. I think on some level he knows he's not that smart, Trump. And so he's like, oh, I don't know. Here, let's defer to who's still here. Steve Mnuchin? Okay, you make economic decisions. Foreign policy? Okay, John Bolton, you make the foreign policy decisions. That's what I think it is. I think he doesn't believe anything. And he'll just go with whatever the people in his administration are saying, and they're saying the worst things possible. Hey, Kyle, I think you might know a guy named Stixon. He's a libertarian, but both agree on weed legalization, anti-censorship, pro-abortion, anti-trade war. Would you debate him? No. Do you think people have the right to democratically elect an anti-democratic leader? That's a good question. Yes, they do. They have the right to elect an anti-democratic leader, but if they act in an anti-democratic way, an authoritarian way to try to undermine the democracy, then there should be measures in place where you could get them out of there, whether it be impeachment or legal proceedings or whatever the case is. Why don't you do podcasts? I would listen to you daily. I actually do. I do. We do podcasts. But it's just not... It's on Blog Talk Radio when it's live, so the audio quality is not that great. And then everything else gets put on YouTube afterwards. So we do. I mean, I guess you could call the Kyle Kulinski Show podcast. You could listen to it on Blog Talk Radio, but I know a lot of people don't like the audio. But then just wait for the YouTube videos. That's it. YouTube. I mean, I'm primarily a YouTuber. You know what I mean? So even though I kind of give the bonus of the Blog Talk Radio live show, that's for the hardcore fans. All my Blog Talk Radio peeps, what up? That's for the hardcore fans who want to get everything instantaneously. For, you know, the videos themselves, it all you know, shows up on YouTube, and then plus you get the Kyle and Corin podcast, which we put up on YouTube. So we do. It's just a matter of how badly do you want to listen? Do you want to listen enough where you'll take the shitty audio? Because if you want the trebly audio, then you can listen live on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't, then, you know, you'll just get everything on YouTube, basically. What are your thoughts on the child prisoner Ahed Tamimi? If you don't know, could do a little research on the subject. Yeah, she stood up to Israeli occupation, and now they locked her up. That's my understanding of the situation. They should free her immediately, pay her restitution, and stop the occupation, and stop massacring innocent Palestinians like they do all the fucking time. And Israel has a horrible, you know, Congressman Ro Khanna brought this up. Israel has a terrible, not just human rights record in general, we all know that, but specifically against Palestinian children. Like, if you throw a rock and you're a Palestinian child, they'll throw the fucking book at you. So, I think what she did is she slapped an Israeli soldier or something who had just gunned down somebody she knows or a family member or something, and then they arrested her. It's unbelievable the way that the narrative is always spun, as if she's some sort of fucking monster, and the occupying army is like, hey, the occupying army is allowed to just fucking trample over human rights and violate all these laws and act worse than fucking apartheid South Africa. They're allowed to do that. That's grandfathered in. That's law and order. But if you fight back against it, well, you're a thug and we need to lock you up. They should free her. They should free her immediately. Are you going to do a story on the federal crackdown this weekend of websites that had advertisements for sex workers? Backpage was seized and there are other sites that are down. Yeah, I saw the article. I saw an article on that. I'll look into it more. But I think the bigger issue is we just need to legalize, tax, and regulate prostitution. That should be legalized, taxed, and regulated. The fact that it's illegal and they crack down on it is like, okay, well, they're allowed to crack down on it because it's illegal. So, but we need to do is change the laws because they probably have every right to crack down on it because it's illegal. But we need to change the laws. But imagine you can't get Democrats to run on like not bombing places or doing a universal background check, which is 97% favored by the American people. Can you imagine any Democrats running on legalizing prostitution? It wouldn't happen. But it should. It's one of these taboo subjects, but it's like, that should be legal, taxed, and regulated. 100%. So yeah, maybe I'll do a story on that. I got to read more about it, though, to get all the details. Can you interview more progressive candidates who aren't Justice Dems to give them exposure? And then you recommend Mal for Congress and Schulten for Iowa. P.S. Maybe you should debate a Marxist. You guys in debates, man. What is it? Okay, I need you to understand that the debates are the WWE. And I'm not shitting on that because I watch the WWE. I like the WWE. But that's what they are. Like, it's not, you're getting less information in a debate than you're getting in any other kind of format or intellectual pursuit. So I know it's entertaining, but it's the least serious form of communicating these ideas. And what are the names? Mal for Congress and Schulten for Iowa. Just want to give them a shout out so everybody knows who they are. You can check them out. I saw an Onion skit about how the GOP was doing childish things like talking in very slow motion and pretending to go limp in votes to stall Obama. I'm wondering if this could actually be a smart political move if done on behalf of the people. No, I don't think so, just because it sounds ridiculous. But there are a lot of things that could be done. Like, one of the things I'm in favor of is taking an issue. Like, they could do this right now with Syria if the Democrats actually believe the right position. They could go out there and go on the floor of Congress and they could just read Donald Trump's tweets on Syria and just go read them over and over and over and over and over for hours. They could have shifts. Like, okay, you go in there, you read them for an hour. The next one goes in there, you read them for an hour. The next one goes in there, you read them for an hour. They could do that. And I think that's a good idea because I would definitely get headlines and they would show a live stream of it, just them repeating Trump's tweets over and over and over and do like a weird filibuster kind of thing where all you do is read his tweets about how we should stay out of Syria and just keep calling it out and say, I agree with him. I agree with him on this. I agree with him on this. I like that idea to fight back. You're one of my favorite hosts. Everyone should see Abby Martin's work in the West Bank. Yeah, she's great. I knew it was bad, but her work really opened my eyes. I'm tired of people not caring about politics. Many people want to be purposefully ignorant, even though it affects them directly. Why do you think that is? Brad, I don't really blame them as much as you do. I think they don't have very many options to get educated on the stuff. I think if they were educated on the stuff, they'd be interested in it. But I don't think they're getting educated on the stuff because all of corporate media is basically, they're there to just fucking obfuscate for the establishment. MSNBC is pro-Democratic Party. Fox News is pro-Republican Party. CNN is in favor of both of those parties. The American people despise both parties. They despise the entire establishment. So they don't have many outlets where they actually get educated about the political issues. I think if they were educated about the political issues, Americans would be much more into politics. So I don't blame them as much as you blame them. I see where you're coming from. But to me, it's a little bit of blaming the victim, because the American people are the victims of the shitty policies of their government. And it's just that they don't have an outlet that really explains to them clearly what's going on in this country and how to fix it. Hey, Kyle, love your show. I'm doing a research paper. Maybe you can help me. The topic would interest you. Is there any way I can contact you? You could tweet at me. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going to help with your research paper. I'm sorry, but you're giving me homework at the moment. I'm not a fan of homework. How do you like Allison Hartson's chances to dethrone that scumbag Feinstein? She's been in office my entire life. Concerned Californian. I think she's got a decent shot. It's not a guarantee because, they really threw the kitchen sink at her. She gets no fucking coverage, even though she broke fundraising records through small donors, by the way. So she's raising money in small amounts, and she's beating Kevin De Leon, fucking Mr. Irrelevant, and Feinstein. But she doesn't get coverage. She doesn't get coverage. So it's all on us to get the word out. And I don't know if we've sufficiently done that. I wish we sufficiently did it. I wish there was enough word of mouth. I wish there was enough coverage, but I don't know if there is. But I don't know. I think she has a chance. I just don't know how good of a chance it is. But I really, really hope she wins. We need her to win. Kyle, why don't you report on every story in every country and debate everyone? Why aren't you a Marxist or libertarian? Hunter, thank you for understanding me. Are you in love? No. With Alexandria? No. Also try to get an interview with Cynthia Nixon. Your audience is her demographic, and you are a constituent. That's a good point. I don't really do interviews often. But Cynthia Nixon would be a great idea to do an interview with Cynthia Nixon. For those of you who don't know, she's running against Cuomo. And Cuomo is pretty corporate. In some ways, he's thrown a bone to progressives every now and then, but he's pretty corporate. And Cynthia Nixon's running to his left, so I should have Cynthia Nixon on. I'm certainly going to vote for her. Hey, Kyle, as a non-serious question, what do you think is going to happen in the season finale of The Walking Dead? Oh, whoa. I didn't see this most recent episode, so I'm not going to... I don't know what happened in this very last episode. I'm going to watch it very soon. Very, very, very soon, okay? I didn't see it yet, so I'm not going to comment on what's going to happen at the end of it, but just know this. The show lost me for a while, but it got me back with the last 3 episodes. The last 3 episodes or so were good. So... I'm going to watch that very soon, watch the most recent episode very soon, and then I'll probably have an answer for you. So ask me on the next Secular Talking Smack. I saw, okay, I already did this one. Can you interview? Did that one. Okay. I think I got all the ones that were asked. Nope, $5. Do you think of what do you think of Ruben saying he'd vote for Trump over Bernie? Also, vast majority of people don't like your new logo. Maybe get outside opinions. Okay, dude, listen. We did a whole contest. There were all these submissions. Now, going into it, everybody knew the deal. I asked for all the submissions, and then I was going to pick the winner. So, I know some of you don't like it. Don't buy the shirt. What do you want me to say? Don't buy the shirt. You can't please everybody. Literally, no matter what one I picked, somebody would be like, I don't like it. So I can't please everybody. Now, you could say, well, a disproportionate number of people don't like it, then should. Maybe, 80% of people should like it and only 60% of people like it. Okay. But I don't know. How would I have democratically gotten people to choose the logo? And furthermore, listen, I honestly didn't want that because maybe you guys would have picked one I really didn't like. So, it's not... I wanted to pick a logo that I liked, and I did that. And then I also wanted to pick a simple one that I thought you guys would like. Majority of you liked it. Some of you didn't like it. Don't buy the shirt. I don't know what to say. Don't buy the shirt. But I don't see why, some people have decided to die on this hill and tweet me breathlessly about how shitty my logo is. Okay, so don't buy the fucking shirt. I don't know what you want me to say. It's a fucking logo, man. It's a logo. So, don't buy the shirt. Fine. Don't like the logo. Fine. But no, I'm not going to... I wasn't going to... First of all, I don't know how I would have people democratically pick my logo. But furthermore, why would I even want people to democratically choose my logo? It's the Secular Talk logo. It's not the Secular Talk audience logo. So, sorry if I'm all authoritarian about my logo, but you guys know what I like. I told you what I liked. I told you I like more of a tribal symbol. Some of you laughed at that and were like, okay, fine, your shitty tattoo from the early 2000s, but we don't like that. Okay, so you don't like it. Sorry. Make your own logo for yourself. This is my logo. So I thought you guys would like the Secular Talk one that's the simple one, but apparently a lot of you didn't like it as much as I thought you would. Sorry. I still love it. So thank you for everybody who does like it. If you don't like it, all I can say is don't buy the shirt. Simple as that. Jesus Christ, I'm trying to fucking... If Russia attacked and took over a NATO ally like Germany, would you go to war with Russia? If Russia's not going to take over Germany. If they did take over Germany, they like Nazi Germany, they would obviously have plans of world domination. So yes, I would support fighting a war against them at the time, because I would say that at that point in time, that's a war of self-defense. If Russia is taking over all of Europe like Nazi Germany did, then Russia is saying we want world domination. So then, yes, I would be in favor of fighting them then. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, and we're escalating with them. They're not escalating with us. We are escalating with them. So that's what needs to be said and needs to be screamed from the rooftops. Hi, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. Have you received more subs since being on JRE and Fox? Also, what is the tattoo on your arm? Maybe part of the reason why I'm so triggered by all this is one of my tattoos. This is for my dad. He passed away in 2011, and I just like this design. It's a little bit tribal in nature, but it also has the rose in there. And then this one is actually kind of similar to our logo, which a lot of you guys don't like. So maybe that's why I'm so triggered by everybody who's like, fuck your tribal shit. Like, no, fuck you, man. I like it. So fuck that. How about that? Have I received more subs? When I went on Joe Rogan, I got a bump in subs for like maybe 3 or 4 days. It started with like maybe 1,000 more subs than usual. And then it kind of tapered off. And then after 3 or 4 days after, it was back to normal. So there's a little bit of a bump from Joe Rogan. No bump from Fox News. Just a lot of views on the Fox News videos I did, but not a bump in subs. Do something with TJ Kirk. Watch BoJack Horseman. After episode 6, it gets very good. BoJack Horseman. Okay. Hey, Kyle. So a title on a PragerU video that says Democrats were for the KKK. Your thoughts? They were. Back when they were the conservative party. That's the part they never tell you. Okay, listen. If anybody makes that point to you in a serious way, like Democrats were the KKK, immediately file them in your mind under hack. Partisan hack. Because what they're not telling you is political realignment is a concept that exists. And there was a time in American history where there was what's called a political realignment. There were Southern racist Democrats called Dixiecrats who were conservative. And when Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, he famously said, Democrats just lost the South for a generation. And he knew that all of those racists would flee to the Republican Party because he, a Democrat, was signing black rights into law. So when they tell you Democrats were the KKK, you say, right, before the political realignment, now where are all those voters? They're in the Republican Party. So that he's right. He's technically right, but it's so misleading to not give you the context of it. So he's just a hack. PragerU is a fucking hack. Thoughts on esoteric entity and cap YouTuber and say my name. The super liberal, ultra proud millennial American atheist. I think it says. That's pretty funny. I don't know who that is. I don't know who esoteric entity is, but anarcho-capitalism is comically stupid. I thought that Kyle's position was pro-gun regulation, so why is he putting on a gun show right now? What can I say, bro? Got 2 tickets to the gun show right here. I think my left bicep is bigger than my right bicep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Or maybe it's just my manly tattoo that makes it like that. Know what I'm saying? Kyle, Daily Blog Talk listener, and I work for a large utility in the Northwest. I wish there was more discussion on how vulnerable our electric grid is. Yeah, I mean, that's part of why we need to do a New Deal. Like, we're coasting on the achievements of fucking FDR's generation. Like, we haven't done a serious upgrade to our entire country since then. And we're coming to the end of the life of the span of a lot of these bridges. And I'm sure the electric grid is in a similar shitty condition. So it's so frustrating that nobody's serious. Like, nobody in Washington is serious. None of them are serious. None of them. Democrat, Republican, there's a handful of people who are serious individuals, but the vast majority of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in power, they're just comical. Like, they're like a caricature, a parody of corrupt politicians. They're all doing the bidding of big pharma and the for-profit insurance companies and Wall Street and the military-industrial complex, and then our country fucking crumbles. So, yeah, we need to upgrade our electric grid. We need to upgrade our entire infrastructure. There's no doubt about that. That might be priority in my top 5 priorities. That might be in my top 5 priorities if I was president. A new deal to do all that stuff. Hey, Kyle, do you see Dave Rubin as a charlatan? I have a special hate for him since I used to be a fan and thought he was honest, but he's really a hack. Yeah, I just think it's sad. One of the things I find funny is that he loves to do he talks about the free marketplace of ideas and open exchanges, but he loves to talk about labels. Nobody loves labels more than Dave Rubin. It's just labels. It's like, okay, that's surface level bullshit. Talk about the actual policy substance. Talk about the actual issues. Let's talk about Medicare for all. Let's talk about free college. Let's talk about a living wage. Let's talk about ending the wars. Let's talk about marginal tax rates. Let's talk about all the issues. But I get the sense from him, it's always just surface level, classical liberalism and libertarianism. And it's just like, he just throws a word salad of labels at you, and you're supposed to go, ooh, he's smart. He used labels. But yeah, I don't know. It's just sad. It's just sad what happened to him. I really don't know what else to say about it other than I guess he leans in a libertarian direction now, but he said he'd vote for Trump over Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, which is just like, what? And the other thing is they get so lost in the culture war. The culture war of the social justice warriors with the pink hair on college campuses are fucking ruining everything. And listen, I've done countless segments where I disagree with any kind of censorship or deplatforming of even people I disagree with, like Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with them on anything, but I think they should be able to speak and nobody should try to deplatform them. But I feel like they get so lost in that conversation of social justice warriors are bad, they're bad, that totally nowhere to be found on serious issues that are directly affecting the country, like, for example, Trump's tax bill, where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. He cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% at a time when corporations are paying a historically low percentage of the tax burden. And, the endless bombings that they're doing, and Trump signing a pro-torture executive memo at his State of the Union, or talking about that at his State of the Union. He signed it the same day as the State of the Union. And all of these really serious issues where the country's being destroyed by both Democrats and Republicans, but instead of talking about those actual policy issues, they act like this group of people in the country who have virtually no power, like shitty authoritarian college kids, they act like that's the biggest threat ever. And, therefore everybody look in the other direction as Washington fucking loots the treasury and gives it to Goldman Sachs and gives it to Wall Street and the rich. And we always do the bidding of the military industrial complex. It's just perpetually dull material. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just think it's sad. What happened to him. He obviously has his niche, however the fuck you say it. But I don't know how long his whole shtick will last, because what does he actually believe in? To the extent I could tell, it's I hate social justice warriors. Okay, got it. I'm kind of libertarian-ish. Okay, got it. But I'm going to say I believe in single payer, even though I don't really know what single payer is. David Pakman exposed Rubin on that front 100%. And that's it. I don't know what else there is. And I'll scream about free speech from the rooftops unless, of course, it affects somebody on the left, in which case I have nothing to say about it. You know, Chelsea Manning was disinvited from giving a speech at a prestigious university. I didn't see Dave Rubin comment on that. There's a pro-Palestinian professor who was deplatformed because he's pro-BDS. That was at Arizona State University. I didn't see Dave Rubin comment on that. So Mr. I'm huge on free speech only talks about it when it's right-wingers, when it's somebody saying some dumb shit on the right, and oh my God, we need to protect his free speech. Now, again, we should protect those people's free speech. I don't care how stupid they are. We should protect them. But if you're going to do that, then motherfucker, you better come out and say the pro-BDS speaker gets the right to speak. You better come out and say Chelsea Manning deserves the right to speak. You better come out and argue for fucking communists to give speeches on college campuses. And Antifa. I know these guys think Antifa is the devil. You should let them speak at college campuses, on college campuses. So I don't know what he just seems like he's empty. He's empty. And he's just like, I don't know, I'll go wherever the fucking winds take me. I'm libertarian-ish. I hate social justice warriors. Jordan Peterson is awesome, even though I was just a fan of Sam Harris not that long ago. And Sam Harris is, you know, big-time Mr. Atheist. And Jordan Peterson is like creepily religious. And I was with Sam Harris, but I don't know, now I'm leaning more in favor of fucking Jordan Peterson. And it's just like, he's just empty. He's just empty. I don't know what he believes. It's hard to tell what he believes. He's libertarian-ish, but he's just like, I don't know. He just seems empty to me. And that's all I'll say about that. Debates and discussions are for the ignorant people watching that may learn a thing or two to research. It ain't about the guys in the ring. It's about the audience. Certainly helping me grow up. And say, oh, like Dice. Oh! There you go. CNN says rebels in Syria. Don't mention that most are hardline Islamists. Also, CNN brought someone who said that Saudi Arabia is fighting Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Oh my God. In reality, they are actually arming them. Crazy, right? Yes, Sammy, that's as crazy as it gets, and you're exactly right. Exactly right. They don't talk about the fact that 60%, at least from a few years ago, that number's from, 60% of the rebels in Syria are jihadists. They don't talk about that. They said, we got to do something, we got to do something, we got to do something. Obama was arming the fucking rebels. And we just sit idly by or actively help jihadists. I mean, David Petraeus was on the record saying we should arm Al-Qaeda to fight ISIS. Are you fucking kidding me? These are the ideas these guys float, and they think it's genius. And yeah, that's Saudi Arabia is arming Sunni militias on the ground in Yemen. Some of them are Al-Qaeda. That's right. And they're fighting the Shia Houthi rebels. So they don't even have a basic understanding of geopolitical circumstances in mainstream media. They just bring on partisan talking heads who all agree we should do more war. Is it possible to do an intervention for someone who is leaning alt-right? How do you de-radicalize them? Show them my show. I know that sounds flippant, but I'm serious. You should show them my show. I think that's one thing that we do pretty well. I don't like, for example, not to shit on TYT or anything, but if you show somebody on the right TYT, I think that they'll get defensive. And they'll be like, no, now I'm going to go even more into the camp of wrongness and be even more right-wing. But I think if you show somebody my show, I think I'm decent at deconverting people. Because I like to... So let me just give you one example. So take the issue of war. There are some people on the alt-right, believe it or not, who aren't for war. So if you have somebody who only talks about those issues and doesn't get wrapped up in the partisan Democrat-Republican angle of it, well, then it's easier for them to swallow that there's a genuine disagreement going on here and that I'm representing a viewpoint that's straightforward and not mired in labels. And I think that has the tendency, when you focus more on the issues, that has the tendency to change people's minds more. So I think it's possible to deconvert those people, but I don't think you're ever going to do it by shame. I think some people, don't get me wrong, I think some hardcore alt-right people, just like some hardcore jihadists or whatever, they're too far gone and you're never going to convince them. But to the extent that you can convince people, you're not going to convince them through shaming. You're going to convince them through giving them a light bulb moment. And you give them a light bulb moment by talking about issues specifically and not getting caught up in labels and not getting caught up in wagging your finger. Do you like Philip DeFranco? I don't really watch him. I know people who know him. you know, but I don't really watch him, so I don't know. I don't know if I like him. How long did you hide the fact that you'd be appearing on Fox? Did they just call you one day and said they wanted you on the show? So like a week before, I got an email from a producer, and the producer said they wanted me on. And I asked, like, okay, what's the topic? They were like, we don't know yet. I was like, do I have to commit before you even give me the topic? They're like, yes. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because I know the segment's going to be short. They said it's 4 minutes long. It's going to be a 4 minute long segment. So I knew I was only going to be able to speak for like fucking a minute or a minute and a half. But I didn't know. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then they told me that morning, this is the topic. I was like, okay. So I prepped a little bit. And then I went in there and did my thing. But it was about a week before I knew I was going on. And I had mentioned it the day before I went on. And then on the day when I was tweeting about it, you guys didn't believe me because it was April Fool's Day. So you were like, it's fake. And I kept tweeting pictures of me being there to prove I was there. And you didn't believe me. You were like, nope, fake news. And then I was on and you were like, oh shit, he's on. So I got the news a week before. I spoke about it a day before, basically. I know you said you don't agree with deplatforming, but do you think it will get to a point with Alex Jones that it is too dangerous for him to have a platform? Example, Pizzagate with the shooter. See, Kelly, the problem with that is those lines that we're drawing can be drawn in so many ways. So, you know, there was a shooter a while ago in, I think it was Dallas, where this guy lit up a bunch of cops, killed a bunch of cops, murdered a bunch of cops. And then what happened is the right, in response to that, turned around and said, look at guys like TYT who do anti-cop videos all the time. Blame them. So now, is it true that, you know, there are some left-wing videos that are super critical of cops? Fuck yeah, that's true. Is it fair to blame them for the shooting of cops from some guy? No, I don't think it is. That guy has agency. The guy who did it made his mind up to do it. You can't say because of this commentary that led to that happening, because certainly no left-wing outlet said, I think you should go and kill cops in Dallas at this time, at this place. See, if it's a direct threat of violence, that's a different issue. It is illegal and it should be illegal. But if it's not a direct threat of violence, we can't draw these connections like this. So in the case of Alex Jones, is he dangerous? Yeah, he's dangerous. Is he making direct threats of violence? I haven't seen it. He's come close, but I haven't seen it. The problem is once you start deplatforming people and censoring people, it's never done just in the cases where everybody agrees it should be done, you know, because then it immediately goes to, well, Alex Jones is out there, but then there's other people that are out there too. I mean, look at these other right-wing people. And then it goes, look at these left-wing people. I mean, there's this guy, Kyle, who keeps talking about how the U.S. is arming Al-Qaeda. That seems dangerous to me. Maybe he shouldn't be allowed to say that because we say that's a conspiracy theory. We say that's not true. Now, it is true, but they'll just say it's not true. And they'll come after outlets like me. So anytime you censor or deplatform, it always gets flipped around to be used on the people that you don't want it to be used on. But there's an easy way out of all this. And the easy way out is across the board, everybody gets to say whatever they want as long as they're not doing direct threats of violence. And as long as they're not doing libel or slander, which are notoriously hard to prove. And it should be that way. So, yeah, I think he's a terrible guy, Alex Jones. I think he's wrong about almost everything at this point, and I think he's off his rocker and he needs legitimate psychological help. I think he's a ticking time bomb, that guy. But you can't kick him off, and you shouldn't kick him off, and I'll be the first to defend him if they kick him off. For energy and water infrastructure, do you support public ownership and nationalization? Yes, I do. I do. I think that should be nationalized. Weird Mike Cernovich. I like that. Kyle, would you ever go on Chapo Trap House? Or do you know any of the guys on it? You guys are my two favorite political shows. Yeah, I would. I would probably do that. And I think I do know some of those guys, but I don't know that I know those guys, if that makes sense. Because I think I follow them on Twitter and they follow me on Twitter. But I don't know if they're on Chapo, but I think they are on Chapo. If any of this makes sense. I think I like them and they like me. I get that sense. But yeah, I would do that. I'd like to request that you and David Pakman discuss Russia on air. I already did that with Jank, so that's not going to happen. As you know, you both have differing opinions, and I'd love to see a civil debate. So Tommy asked that. Tommy, go watch me and Jank discuss this, because that's what that was. The conversation you want me to have with David Pakman is the conversation I had with Jank. And we went into all angles of it, and you can watch and make your own mind up as to who's right and who's wrong. So type in Kyle Kulinski, Cenk Uygur, Russia debate. Do you like Justin Trudeau? Do you feel he sometimes goes too far? I don't know what you mean by too far. Does that mean too far left wing, too far right wing? No, I don't like Justin Trudeau. I think he's better than fucking Donald Trump, but that's damning with faint praise. It's like saying you're the tallest kid in kindergarten. So it's not good. I think he's still selling weapons to Saudi Arabia, so fuck him for that. You don't get to pretend like you care about human rights and justice, and then you arm a regime committing a genocide. So no, I don't like Justin Trudeau. And oftentimes he does the old neoliberal trick of like, you get so focused on goofy social issues that like you can continue to shaft people when it comes to economics. So again, he's not terrible. He's not like Trump, but he's just not, I'm not a fan. Do you feel like Crowder goes after low-hanging fruit with Change My Mind? I often wish you'd show up and school him. No, I know the segment you're talking about. I've honestly never watched it. But I'm just not a fan of him in general. He just strikes me as a down-the-line Republican. Like, I know he thinks he's, like, really cool and really edgy, but, like, he supported Ted Cruz. Full stop. Like, that's it. Strike one, you're out. Oh, you supported Ted Cruz. How fucking edgy and anti-establishment. You are the establishment. Or at least you're their fucking useful idiot and sycophant. Ted fucking Cruz? Ted Cruz. I mean, Ted Cruz. Really? You fucking support Ted Cruz? I mean, listen, at least with the Trump people, I got some of it. Like, some of it with the Trump people was like, yeah, fuck the establishment. Because on the campaign trail, he had a lot of fuck the establishment in him. He did. So I get that. And half the time, Trump was like, yeah, let's get out of NAFTA. And, he was like, let's get out of fucking Iraq and Afghanistan. So on some of the shit Trump said, I understand where the pro-Trump people were coming from. Okay? And the whole thing of like, I'm going to fucking overturn this apple cart and shake the system up. I get that, man. So some of the Trump supporters, I get it. And like, I'm willing to try to reach out to them to try to get them to change their mind on certain issues and back the candidates I back and stuff like that. For Ted Cruz supporters, there's none of that. Ted Cruz wasn't even pretending to be fucking populist, wasn't even pretending to be anti-war. He's just a typical Republican douchebag who wants to deregulate Wall Street and fucking cut taxes for the rich and do bullshit Christian conservative fundamentalist policies like anti-abortion shit and anti-gay stuff. He fucking wanted to ban dildos when he was, the Attorney General of Texas? He sued to keep that law in place. A ban on fucking dildos. Steven Crowder supported this fucking loathsome idiot, Ted Cruz. And like, so anyway, this is my long way of saying I don't watch any of his stuff because the few things I've seen, I've just gone, oh, okay, I got it. I know what that guy is. He's just a fucking standard Republican. He's, like chugs the hyper-partisan Kool-Aid like Tommy Lahren or Lauren or however you say it. Where underlying everything they ever say ever is like Republicans are great and Democrats are bad. And you should just know if anybody says that, they're a fucking hack. And that doesn't just go for Republicans, that goes for Democrats. Anybody who says Democrats are good, Republicans are bad, or if that's the philosophy undermining everything they said, stop listening. They're fucking idiots and they're lying to you. Either they're lying to you or they're an idiot, I should say, or they're ignorant. But that's not a sophisticated worldview. That's not deep. That's not edgy. That's you. Not only are you not countercultural, you are the dominant culture. That's what you are. You're going to fucking cheerlead for one of these two grotesque political parties. That's just pathetic. It's just ridiculous. So it's just, he's a silly person. He's a silly person. The philosophy that undermines everything he does is right wing is good. I mean, he just did it so he wrote the fucking thing, Hitler's a liberal. Huh? So in other words, everything that I don't like in this world that's bad, it's liberals. You are by definition liberal if you're bad, if you've done bad, if you are bad. You're just a liberal. That's that mindset. And he just did it. You know who he did it with? This most recent time. So he did it with Hitler, which is like the craziest example ever because it just shows like, wow, you're stupid. He did it with Dylan Roof. Huh? What, son? You did it with Dylan. He did it, Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof's a liberal, he said. So this is that mindset, guys. That mindset is anybody, it's the left wing is the scapegoat. Okay. The Democrats, liberals, if you're on the left, you're the scapegoat for everything that's ever wrong, that's ever happened ever. That's not intelligent. That's not smart. That's like, you're a dumbass. That's a partisan, hacky dumbass is what that is. And listen, some people might listen to this, go, well, you're the opposite of that. You're the mirror image of that. Nonsense. You go through Secular Talk library and you'll see in an instant, I shit on Republicans, I shit on Democrats, I shit on the entire establishment because you should shit on the entire establishment. They are all screwing you. All of them. Now there's differing degrees, so they're screwing you to different degrees, and on some issues, some politicians are right. On most issues, they're all wrong, but I go after both of them because that's what an intellectually honest person does. You know what a fucking cheerleader, sycophant bitch does? The philosophy that undermines everything they do is liberals bad or Democrats bad, Republicans good. And that's what that guy is, okay? So, wow. So, going to college campuses and schooling, authoritarian kids with fucking blue hair. But so impressive, Steven. Very impressive. Keep shitting on people with no money and no power and feeling good about yourself like you're edgy. You're not. You're young O'Reilly. That's what you are. Congratulations. Okay, anyway, now that I've ranted endlessly about that guy. Are you taking too much cred for conflating your success among confused liberal white nationalist types because of your lack of visually representing minorities in your populist issues where TYT does? Love your show. Keep it up. Let me read that again. I'm not sure I get it. Are you taking too much credit, I guess that means, for conflating your success among confused liberal white nationalist types because of your lack of visually representing minorities in your populist, I think you meant to say populist issues where TYT does? Love your show. Keep it up. Okay, if I understand what you're saying, the answer is all the things I talk about include black people, Hispanic people, white people, and everybody. See, that's the thing. That's how you win people over. You don't listen. It is nothing but fucking goofy pandering to frame issues that affect minority communities in a way where it exclusively affects minority communities. That's what Hillary Clinton does, where she goes, break down the barriers, stronger together. We need to break down the barriers that are facing minorities across this country. Now, when you talk about issues and frame them in a way where this is in favor of you and just you, that's pandering. So if you have universal health care, if you have Medicare for all, that helps everybody, including minorities, 100%. If you raise the minimum wage to a living wage, that helps everybody, including minorities. And you go down the list. If you end the wars, not only does that help minorities, that almost exclusively helps minorities because you stop blowing up the mostly brown Muslim people that were blowing up overseas. So when you talk about just the issues, underlying the issues, it helps not just white communities, but also minority communities. So I don't understand why one would try to frame it in a way where like this is to help minorities and only to help minorities, unless you're a panderer and you're a McFeminist and you're a McLiberal and you're a neoliberal like Hillary Clinton was, where you're not actually going to do anything to help those communities. So you pander to those communities by saying to them, hey, I am doing this for you, and don't you like me, black people? Don't you like me, minority communities? If you're actually helping them, you don't need to try to frame issues in a way that's pedantic and condescending, where you look at them and go, I'm doing this to help you. You just do the right policies, and those policies will help everybody, including those groups. So I don't buy your framing in your question. The reality is Medicare for all, free college, a living wage, ending the wars, a new deal, and ending the drug wars specifically, which is I'm 100% in favor of, and I push that all the time. That gets everybody on your side. If you're framing issues in a way where you say we are solely helping minorities by doing this, this, and this, you're just pandering. That's just pandering. I can help minorities with the policies I want without having to pander to them in the process. And they know that. They get that. They're smart enough to get that. 100%. So I don't like the pandering because I think it's stupid and I think it's goofy and I think it's childish and I think it's condescending. Would you ever consider doing a long, in-depth breakdown of your positions on NAFTA and other trade deals? You often talk about their negative aspects while ignoring the benefits. Love the show. Keep it up. I don't know if I'd ever do that in detail, but my view on trade is very simple. We should trade out of necessity when we need to trade. Outside of that, there should be strict laws and rules in place that punish corporations shipping U.S. jobs overseas just to make a buck. Because the trade deals only benefit the rich. That's the whole point of them, is they screw over working communities and they benefit the rich and they exploit cheap labor in like Bangladesh. So that's my general take. Should we trade? Yes. You trade out of necessity for goods you have to trade for. Outside of that, there should be rules in place to protect workers in America. Love your shows. Keep it up. Thank you. Very, very kind of you, Bowser. Jay Bowser. Do the Ted Cruz. I'm Ted Cruz. Me. I'm Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz just did a talk on Ben Shapiro's show. These guys, it's actually true that Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro like have a following now. That's impressive because to repackage fucking Ted Cruz and sell that motherfucker. Talk about an impossible product to sell, and they're doing it. You know, Ben Shapiro has Ted Cruz on, talks to him. Like I said, Crowder's had him on too, and he was a Ted Cruz supporter. I'm Ted Cruz, me. He's such a fucking sleazy fraud. I know there are still many primaries against corporate Dems, but if you had to guess, what are the odds that the Dems win the House and the Senate in 2018? I don't know the exact numbers, so I can't answer that question. I think at this point, it's likely there's going to be an anti-Trump wave, but that wave is just going to be standard pendulum swinging in American politics because the Democrats are not really giving a competing vision. They're not selling a vision, a populist vision, a vision of reducing income inequality and giving everybody Medicare for all. So since there's no real vision on the Democrats, it's just going to be an anti-Trump backlash. So the Democrats will do well, I think, but it's going to be an accident, basically, because they would have voted, American people at this point would have voted for a hamster over fucking Trump and the Republicans. So I think there's going to be a wave, but it's going to be a sad one because even if the Democrats get a supermajority, they're going to do dick with it just like they did under Obama. Obama had a supermajority. We didn't get Medicare for all. We didn't get free college. We didn't get a living wage. We didn't get gun reform. We didn't end the drug war. So it'll be underwhelming. Hey, Kyle, just a quick thought. I was born in 2001. Wow. The year we went into Afghanistan. I haven't seen the news cover the wars in years. Kind of fucked up. Brian, that's a great point, and one I don't make enough. But you're right. The media just doesn't talk about the fact we're still doing 2 out-and-out wars. Forget the fact we're bombing 8 different countries. 2 out-and-out wars. Boots on the ground, whole deal in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the media just doesn't fucking talk about it. You know, Stormy Daniels, fucking Russia, high turnover in the administration. And that's it. Oh, God, it's so fucked up, man. Jesus. Wow, that's so sad. He was born in 2001. We've been at war his whole life, and the media doesn't even talk about this. Do workers bear responsibility for their respective industries? Is it hypocritical to work for the axis of evil, military, oil, and finance, while railing against them politically? I think you have to deal with the cards you're dealt. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend working for the military-industrial complex or oil or finance. But as long as you're actively trying to reform the system, you deal with the cards you're dealt, you know? So when we transition, by the way, away from like for-profit health insurance companies and whatnot, it is going to be a painful transition. A lot of people don't want to talk about that part of it. It's true. A lot of people are going to lose jobs, but they're losing jobs that shouldn't exist in the first place. Jobs that are an unnecessary middleman that sentence people to death. Actual death panels are the health insurance companies. So people are going to lose jobs. That in certain industries, that's what's going to happen. But that needs to happen. We need to reform our economy from a warfare economy to a non-warfare economy. We need to change it from a for-profit health insurance system to a Medicare for all system, a public system. So transition's not easy, but it's necessary. So it has to be done. But that's a really good question, and I really appreciate that question. Have you seen this? All major USA news outlets saying exactly the same words. How new media is dangerous for democracy. Google how America's largest local TV. Okay. Yeah, I think you're talking about the Sinclair thing. Not only do I know what you're talking about, I covered it. And that was fucking scary, is what that is, because that is manufacturing consent 101. One company is trying to buy up virtually all local news outlets in the US and become the Facebook or the Google of local news, and they're very, very right wing. So they're trying to control the airwaves, which controls your thought, and make it so that the debate is very narrow. The Overton window is super narrow, okay? And way off to the right end of the spectrum, where everybody agrees with war, everybody agrees with corruption. So it's scary what's happening right now. Late to the chat, saw the end of your rant about Crowder. Did you see that Yusuf Kid demolish him in his Change My Mind segment? Most of his fans agree Crowder lost. Shows why we should debate. I didn't see that, but maybe that'll actually make it so that I can stomach a segment with him in it. Maybe I will check that out. Who is Corin? Also, when you were studying political science in school, what did you think you'd end up doing once you graduated? Did you see yourself where you are now? I always wanted to be an Air America radio host, and I promised myself I would be. But they went under. I think they went under when I was in college, around when I was in college. So I wanted to do basically what I'm doing now, but there was no outlet at the time. So I graduated with a political science degree, and then I went to go work in the car industry for about a year and a half. And then I started doing this full time in 2013. And Corin is the co-host of Kyle and Corin, which is the podcast where me and him shoot the shit, and we don't really talk about politics, or if we do, we talk maybe a little bit about politics, but mostly about other shit in the world. Okay. How do I stream you like I stream Sirius XM? I'm having difficulty identifying a solid streaming app for my iPhone, and no, I will not switch to Zionist Android. I don't know. See, this is it's not really a little known secret. People who really know the show well will know this about me. I'm actually an idiot. Like, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm really stupid. Like, seriously stupid. And anything that involves technology, anything that involves anything other than just talking about politics, I don't know how to do. I'm helpless. I'm a fool. I'm a child. I'm a baby. So I have no answer to your question. None whatsoever. Maybe somebody in the chat can answer that for you, though. If you put Shapiro and Micro Machines guy in a 10-foot sealed glass box, how long would it take to waste all the air inside? People are being sent into war that don't remember 9/11. Soon we'll be born after. I don't really get that. Shapiro and Micro Machines guy? I know people talk about Shapiro being short, and apparently he's very self-conscious about that. That's funny. Okay. Am I running out here? I think I'm running out here. Who's Corin? Love your shows. Keep it up. Thanks again. Yep, I'm running out. I think we don't have any more super chats. Oh, here we go. He said, Alan said, yes, I know, but is Corin like a longtime friend of yours? Yes. Corin and I met in, I think it was middle school. Yeah, I think it was middle school. And we've been very close friends ever since. I mean, middle school, we were friends. High school, we were really good friends. Now, for college, he went away. He went to, I think, upstate New York, was it? He went somewhere away for college. And so there was a brief period, maybe like, 4-year period or so, where we weren't super close because he was away. But we've always maintained a pretty close friendship. And when he came back for the summers when he was in college, we would still hang out. So I've always kind of been close with him. We would play cards together, which was always fun. We'd play basketball together. When I say cards, I mean the old stories of me and him going to the underground poker clubs. So had a lot of, me and him have a lot of great stories and history together. And now we do the Kyle and Corin podcast. He actually doesn't live around here, but we just do it via Skype. So I when I see him, it's just now we mostly only see each other to do Kyle and Corin. But sometimes, when he's back for whatever reason, holidays or whatever, I'll see him when he's here. But yeah, so from like middle school and on, me and him have been very good friends. Since you were working with cars, would you recommend replacing headlights with xenon or LED light? I have a 2009 Subaru Outback. I wasn't. I was a salesman, so I was in the service department, and I don't know dick to answer that question. But I like the way LED lights look, but that's just because I like LED lights, not because I know how they would be on a car. Although I think they're good on cars. Yeah, but I was a salesman. I wasn't a service guy, so I don't know shit. Sad face, you didn't read my question earlier. How do you feel about Patrick Reed winning the Masters? And if I come to New York, would you want to play around? How do I feel about Patrick Reed winning the Masters? I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people don't like him. I like him as a golfer because he's really tenacious as a golfer, and he always thought, like, at first I didn't like him because he said, like, early on when he won his first tournament or something like that, like, I'm one of the top 5 in the world. And everybody's like, hey, jackass, you're literally like number 79. Look at the rankings. Like, we measure this shit. So he was a little obnoxious back then, but he kind of won me over time. The same thing happened with Tiger. Early on, I didn't like Tiger. But then after he was just so fucking good, I was like, I give up. You're the best ever, and you're amazing, and I love you. And now I'm like Tiger's biggest fan. But Patrick Reed, I like his game. I don't think he backs down. He doesn't fucking choke under pressure. So he's beast. I wanted Rory to win a little more, but it's okay that Patrick Reed won. But that charge from Spieth was something else, man. I'm not even a big Spieth guy, but that charge was really fucking amazing. And would I play golf with you? I don't know, maybe. I don't. We should probably get to know each other a little better. What country would you immigrate to if you had to? Canada. It's right there. It's awesome. I love Canada. I'd go there. I would say Australia, but that shit is super far. So Canada. I'd go right to Toronto and call it a day. Or maybe Montreal. It sucks because I wouldn't be able to play as much golf, but whatever. Paula Jean 2018. I agree with that 100%. Do you think climate change catastrophes will be exploited by right-wing forces? How do we prepare for the new disaster capitalism? Yeah, I think it will. They're already doing it now. So in the Arctic, it's like shit is melting that has never melted before, and then immediately all the oil companies and some state and some governments were like, okay, we got to go get the oil now. Oh my God. So because of climate change, we've now gone down this horrendous fucking path where shit is melting that shouldn't be melting. And the response isn't, oh my God, we need to fix this. The response is, how do we exploit this? So we're in trouble. Kyle, hope you had a good day. You said you watched WWE earlier. Did you watch WrestleMania? Yes, I did. I was speaking about that a little earlier, Spencer. I'm very upset that that Nakamura lost. That pissed me off. And I'm also fucking... I just despise Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, and I think the fact that they're like two of the biggest names in the sport is like, fuck you, Vince McMahon, for force-feeding us these guys. Like, Brock Lesnar, we get it. He's big. He was in the UFC, and Vince loves him, but we don't, so fuck off. Roman Reigns, same thing. Personality of a fucking wet dish towel. Fuck him. My economics college teacher says that nobody knows what has caused the Great Depression or other economic crashes. I was stupefied when he said that. You should be, because that's not true. We do know what caused it. Massive deregulation, massive tax cuts for the rich, assuming that Wall Street are the smartest guys in the room, overextension of credit, over leveraging, a lot of shit led to it. I'm studying political science and I'm about to finish my second year of college. What do you think are good steps for me to run for office in the future? I want to join the military to be a second LT, lieutenant. I wouldn't join the military. If I were you, I would maybe go work on some smaller campaigns at first and dip your toes in the water there, and then maybe run for a small office, and then work your way up to like Congress or the Senate. But I would recommend getting just getting involved in politics from right when you graduate, as opposed to going to the military. Somebody asked me what I think of Mehdi Hassan. He's okay. I disagree with him on some things, but in other ways, I think he's great. I think he's a great interviewer, for example. I'm trying to get to all these guys. There's a lot of them. Hey, Kyle, very big fan of the show. As someone who rightly prides themselves on being consistent on the issues, I'm curious if there are any that you changed your mind about since starting the show. Since starting the show, I don't know, but I certainly have changed my mind on some issues over time. I think when I was younger, I went through, I was more pro-gun, and now I'm like moderate, I'd say. But there was a time when I was probably just very libertarian on the issue. So yeah, that's one issue. Guns is one issue. And I wouldn't say I changed my mind on a lot of stuff. I evolved on a lot of stuff. Like I didn't know about Medicare for all. And then when I learned about it, I was like, oh shit, that's the answer. So changing my mind. The only one that's popping in my head now is guns. And I went from being libertarian on that to just being moderate on that and being in favor of regulating it in an effective way. But I can't think of any others right now. If something else pops in my mind, I'll talk about it. But that's the first one that popped in my mind when it came to issues I've changed my mind on. Can you give a left-wing perspective on the stuff going on in South Africa with the white land expropriation? No, I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't give any take on it. South Africa, white land expropriation. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what issue you're talking about. I wish I could comment, but I don't know what's happening. What was the first lesbian soccer coach experience you had, and how did it affect your political views? Do you think Big Seltzer would support Bernie? Yes, Big Seltzer would support Bernie in the same way that the fucking Ben and Jerry guys, Chunky Monkey ice cream people, that they would support Bernie. My first lesbian soccer coach experience was learning I was a lesbian soccer coach from YouTube. Thank you for that. Should we worry about climate change as nuclear winter is near? We should worry about climate change and nuclear winter. Because, yeah, I'm scared with all the war stuff going on right now. I mean that. I mean, nobody's at the helm of the ship right now. Like, nobody's there. Like, you have a bunch of people who want war at the helm of the ship. They're actively steering us in the wrong direction. So, this is bad. This is really fucking bad. Iran, North Korea, Syria, it's going down. And then, of course, that pushes further to World War III with Russia, because World War III can happen over Syria, because Vladimir Putin and Russia are on the side of Assad, and we're sounding like we're going to go in there and try to topple Assad, like, soon. So, very scary. Do you think Bernie Sanders has a shot at the next presidential election, or do you think he'll be cheated or blacklisted? Also, good job. Love the show. Watch every morning. The answer is both. He will be cheated and blacklisted, but he has a good shot at the presidency, because his profile is now up so much higher than it was when he started running before, that you almost can't hold him down. I mean, think about it. They couldn't hold Trump back as a fake anti-establishment candidate. So if they couldn't hold Trump back, they definitely can't hold Bernie back this time, because now Bernie has a lot of name recognition up front going into it. So I think he will be cheated, he will be blacklisted, he will be smeared, and all that stuff, but it might make him stronger, and that might end up helping him win. Hi, Kyle, big fan and 4-year viewer. Given the situation back in 9/11 and the domestic atmosphere at the time, had you been president, how would you have handled it? The U.S.'s war record is bad. That's a good question. How would I have handled it if I was president when 9/11 happened? I think I would have gotten congressional approval, then done very either targeted special operations or targeted drone strikes just to get Osama bin Laden. And then I would have been done with it. So I would have gotten congressional approval, specifically targeted Osama bin Laden, or either through drones or special ops, and then that's it. We're out of Afghanistan. We never would have went into Iraq. Never would have opened Guantanamo Bay. Never would have done torture. And we'd be $7 trillion richer, and we wouldn't be war criminals. That's what I think I would have done. Let's say we get Bernie as president and he decides to introduce a bill regarding infrastructure. What are the first 10 things you would want done immediately, and why? Love your show since you're fair and smart. So the first 10 things in an infrastructure bill. So my answer to that is I would go to the Society of Civil Engineers report card, which is out there, by the way. You can go read it if you want to read it. I'll go to the Society of Civil Engineers report card, and I would go to the 10 things that have the lowest grade. And I would say, those are the things we're going to update first. So that's what I do. But I don't know exactly which categories they are off the top of my head. I'd have to read that on the Society for Civil Engineers website. Do you ever think you set a low bar for yourself on what you consider an intelligent person? Killer Mike, Sargon, TJ Kirk turned out to be hacks who don't care for policy and just play to their fans. I don't agree with that. And by the way, I don't know, why does that mean I set a low bar for who I consider an intelligent person? Why do you think that's a low bar? Like, Noam Chomsky is one of my intellectual heroes. So is that a low bar? Because I like Noam Chomsky? Like, that's a weird thing to say. Now, Killer Mike, is Killer Mike smart? I think Killer Mike is very smart. I do. I really do think he's smart. I think TJ Kirk is very smart. In fact, I'm going to go out of my way here. I'm going to recommend TJ Kirk did. I don't agree with him on everything, but that's fine. But TJ Kirk did. He's responding to Jordan Peterson in a book, but he's also doing like an audiobook version of it. He's releasing the chapters on his channel. Go check that out. Because Jordan Peterson has built this brand around being like a self-help guru kind of guy, but also kind of right-leaning. So he's got a very individualist philosophy, but he kind of leans right politically, and he's very self-help guru-y, and a lot of like young white men really like him. And TJ Kirk read his book, 12 Rules for Life, and he's kind of like just deconstructing it. And it's actually really good so far. So listen to the introduction and then listen to the first chapter, and you'll see why I think TJ Kirk is smart. Even if you don't agree with him, he's pretty smart. So check that out. Let's see. I agree with money out of politics, but are you sure public financing of elections is the best way to go? We've had it in Italy. It fucks things up. Well, Luigi, I haven't read about the failures of it. Maybe you're right. Maybe it does suck. I have no idea. But there are a bunch of ways you could do clean elections. I mean, you could do public financing in a variety of different ways. I mean, one way that Ro Khanna talks about is you give everybody either like $100 or a $200 voucher, and they get to pick which candidates they give it to. And the only money you allow in the election is that voucher money that goes to individuals. So in other words, Sheldon Adelson will only be able to spend max $200. And I would only be able to spend max $200, so nobody has a distinct advantage. No billionaires or rich people have a distinct advantage. There's a bunch of ways to do public financing of elections, and I'm not an expert on the issue. I would just say whichever way is empirically the most effective is the way that we should do it. So maybe the specific way you did clean elections in Italy is a shitty way, and you're indicating that that is the case. But however bad it is in Italy, I mean, is it really worse than the U.S.? I mean, the U.S., we're just almost an open oligarchy at this point. It's comical. Do you think Israel is planning another land grab in Syria like it did in the 1980s? Probably. Probably, yes. I mean, every time you look at what they're doing, it's horrendous. I mean, they were just they shot 6 reporters the other day. They're fucking shooting innocent Palestinian protesters who were being nonviolent. Some of them were literally running away from the border and they got shot. And there was talk on Twitter last night about how Syrian air bases were getting hit, and the U.S. State Department was like, son. And so who the fuck else would it be? It's probably Israel. So, I mean, they've done it in Lebanon. They fucking routinely massacre innocent people in Gaza. So I don't put anything by them. That's for damn sure. I get annoyed with people who are against voting Dem no matter if the Dem is progressive or not. Basically, people who want a third party and will not vote for any Dem no matter what. What do you think? Yeah, I agree with you. I think you should vote for people based on issues. So if the person is right on the issues and they're a Democrat, vote for the fucking Democrat. What's your problem? What do you have, a fucking principled stand against the label? No, if they're right with you on the issues, there's your principles. Those are your principles. Those are your ideals. So you vote for them based on the issues. If somebody happens to come up in the Republican Party who's for the same issues that I'm for, and they have the same policy positions I have, I'll vote for them. So yes, I don't agree with like hard lines. Like, no, I will vote for no fucking Democrat ever. But I also, the hard line works in the other direction too. So if you say, I will only vote for a Democrat or a Republican, and I will not vote for an independent or something, well then fuck you too. You should just vote for people based on the issues. That's it. Hey Kyle, thoughts on Peter Schiff? He predicted the 2008 economic crash and predicts another one soon, but also calls for no minimum wage, so I don't know. Peter Schiff is a libertarian economist. And Peter Schiff was right about the economic crash that was coming in 2008, but you have to understand, it wasn't that hard to tell. It was only corporate tools who couldn't tell. I could tell. Bill Maher did a new rules in like 2007 or 2006 saying the housing bubble was going to burst. So Peter Schiff was 100% right about that bubble bursting. 100% right. Nobody could take that away from him. And I was cheering him on back then when he was talking to the fucking idiots on CNBC who were doing corporate propaganda and pretending the economy was great. But he's a down-the-line libertarian, so I don't agree with his policy positions on economics at all. In fact, I think he's objectively and empirically wrong about a lot of the stuff he says, like the no minimum wage. So he was right about the crash, not right about much else. But just understand there were also people on the left who knew a crash was coming. It wasn't just Peter Schiff. What is your opinion on using military spending for southern border protection and increasing Border Patrol budget for manpower and technology? I don't think we should increase the military budget for anything. I think we should cut it probably over 50% because it's preposterously large at the moment. I mean, we spend more than the next 9 biggest countries combined on the military, and most of those countries are our allies. We're a crumbling empire. We're just wasting all of our money on war, and we should be spending on infrastructure and jobs and stuff like that. But in terms of border protection, I'm fine with border protection. You know, I think it's a big caricature and a big straw man of most lefties when they say lefties want, you know, open borders. Nonsense. Maybe there's a small percentage of them that do. But as far as I know, most people on the left are in favor of borders and having some form of border protection. So I'm fine with doing border protection. And I think it's a straw man when people act like people on the left are taking a stand against all borders. I think that's goofy and that's not true. What do you think about running ads to promote your channel? Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It just strikes me as, I don't know. It's just like unnecessary and a little weird. And it's like, I have enough confidence in my material that if you happen to get across one video that you might want to watch more. So I don't think I need to fucking spend to have ads pop up in front of other channels. How would you like the EU to develop in the future? And how do you see it realistically? Thanks for making sense on the other side of the pond. I don't know. That's a very complicated question. I mean, I think now there's a lot of exploitation going on of certain countries in the EU. And I think, you know, in many ways, like Greece, for example, has given away their sovereignty to Germany. So I don't know. I don't know what can work in the long run with the EU, because with the US, you have some sort of national solidarity with the whole project that we're doing here, even though there's cultural differences between the North and the South and stuff like that. But I don't sense the same kind of EU solidarity that I do as there is American solidarity. So I don't know if it's a doomed thing from the jump, the idea of the EU. But the way it works right now, it looks like it's economic exploitation that happens as a result of the way the EU is set up. So obviously a living wage is a necessity, but do you think the minimum wage should be increased quickly to reach that point, or somewhat gradually over a few years in order to lessen economic shock? I don't buy the premise. I don't buy the premise. I think that in the overwhelming majority of cases, and in fact, the studies have shown this, when you do just increase the minimum wage, all the dire predictions about rampant unemployment skyrocketing, they didn't come true. In the places where they've studied this in the US, minimum wage increases, no matter how much in the short time span, have not led to mass layoffs and, you know, hair on fire, everybody go nuts. So I think we should just raise it to a living wage. I do. And then I think we should chain it to inflation so we never have to revisit the issue again. You make it a living wage, you chain it to inflation, and then that's it. Everybody, if you work a full-time job, you make enough money to survive, and that's what it is in perpetuity. And that's what it is forever. So, and look at Australia, man. Australia has a living wage. Everything's going hunky-dory over there. So this idea that like the economy will collapse or we can't take it or all this stuff, not true. And the way it works right now is how we're all getting hosed. So look at Walmart. Walmart, they get billions of dollars a year as a corporate welfare check, a subsidy from taxpayers, because they pay their people less than a living wage, and then those people have to go to the social safety net to make ends meet. So it would actually help taxpayers more if you make corporations pay a living wage. So I don't really buy the framework of the question there. Hey, Kyle, huge fan here. How do you respond to anti-single-payer talking points like government forcing payment and wait times? Also, I think who is Corin meant how do you know him? Yeah, I already addressed that. Yeah, it's easy to address those points. So when people say wait times, the response is, we have wait times here. We have wait times here, and they're actually worse. How do I know that? Well, 45,000 people die every year in the U.S. Actually, that's not fair. Anyway, depending on the year, anywhere from 30,000 to 45,000 people die every year in the U.S. because they don't have access to basic healthcare. So that's not the case in single payer countries. That's just not the case. You don't have people dying because they don't have access to healthcare. Everybody has access to healthcare, and it's free, paid for via tax dollars. So the way you answer the wait times talking point is we have wait times, and on our wait lines, it's littered with dead bodies. Canada doesn't have that. As far as forcing payments, that's just tax money. Right now, we're forced to pay for our bloated empire where we fucking bomb people left and right. So, yeah, that's the problem. Is we're forced to pay for bombing people and killing people and Wall Street subsidies and all that stuff. And that's what we shouldn't be forced to pay for. We should have taxes in the social contract. That's part of the social contract. And one of the things you'd put on the top of the list is healthcare. Everybody gets healthcare. Did you see David Pakman's interview with Alex Jones' ex-wife? Did you learn anything new from it? Yes, I saw that interview. I liked that interview. I agree with her and on most of what she said. She just lost me with calling for him to lose his channel. In fact, I think if she just never brought that up and only spoke about the other issues, her story would take off a lot more. Don't call for censoring him. Even though he's a shitty guy and she knows it more than anybody, don't do that. Don't call for him losing his channel. But outside of that, I think she has a lot of credibility in what she's talking about because you could see how, he has a bunch of screws loose on air. Would you debate Steven Crowder on democratic socialism? No. Gun laws and other policies you disagree with. He's a Republican YouTuber. I know who he is. What do you think? I did a rant against Steven earlier. You could check that out. What do you think Trump will do with Iran in May? And do you think Trump will go to war with Iran? It's looking like it. It's looking like it. He brought John Bolton, who's the neocon's neocon. He makes George W. Bush look like Dick Cheney. Excuse me. John Bolton makes George W. Bush look like Noam Chomsky. He's always in favor of war. Casually talks about we should nuke people. He's a fucking maniac. So you bring that guy in the administration, and then, of course, everything's going to get more hawkish. So I'm afraid that he's going to pull out of the Iran deal. If you pull out of the Iran deal, you make it more likely Iran gets a nuclear weapon, and you also make it more likely that the U.S. goes to war with Iran. So I'm scared. It's not good. It's really ugly right now. Come to Norway and enjoy our healthcare. I would if it wasn't so far and so cold. Okay. I think I ran through all of them. I did. Okay. So any stragglers that come in, I'll answer, but then I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I'm fucking starving. I'm fucking starving right now. And I got to try to eat. I ate like such shit yesterday for the Masters and for Wrestlemania. I said, you know what? Cheat day. I'm going to go nuts. And I got White Castle. Oh, delicious. And I got fucking Pringles. It was so good. But now the fun is over and it's back to eating healthy, which is terrible. You've been doing this for quite some time. What's keep you motivated? I think I would be exhausted. Yeah, I am exhausted. But everybody's exhausted. That's no excuse. I mean, everybody's living life. Everybody has to work. Everybody, and I'm relatively lucky compared to most people because my job is to talk about serious issues that matter and affect people's lives. So I should consider myself lucky. But yeah, everybody's exhausted. I'm exhausted. Everybody's exhausted. We all just keep fighting and moving forward and doing the best we can. And there's a lot of work to be done, and that keeps me going too. There's a lot of work to be done because we're so far away from what we should be as a country. You should take phone calls like David Pakman does. What is the tattoo on your arm? I showed them earlier. You could check out the stream. I showed them earlier. Also, analysis of Tiger at the Masters. Our expectations were so high for Tiger because of how he did at the last few tournaments. He got like a 7th place finish and he got a 2nd place finish. So I think we had irrationally high standards for him, and I'm happy he made the cut. But I do think he'll put everything together based on how much swing speed he has and how good he feels, because this back fusion really worked, it looks like. I do think it's a matter of time before Tiger Woods wins another golf tournament, which is crazy to even say that considering how far back we were, how far away we were from that point in like 2016. So I think he did well. I'm just happy he made the cut and he kept it together for 4 days. Have you seen the Yodeling Boy viral video? Yes, I have, and I think it's pretty funny. Hey, Kyle, what are your thoughts on universal basic income, regardless of automation and stuff? Do you think this could be a solution? I used to be more hesitant on the issue of universal basic income, and I'm still somewhat hesitant on the issue because I like the idea of a negative tax rate. So in other words, if you're poor, you get money from the government. And the more you go up that income ladder, then you start paying when you hit a certain threshold and make a certain amount of money. Now, I like that idea because you get the money to the people who need it. The poor people who need the money get the money. Okay, that's negative income tax rate in a progressive system. But I now like the idea of universal basic income too. I used to think it's not economically feasible. And then I thought, well, hold on now. If we crunch the numbers, it's almost certainly economically feasible because all we just have to do is stop wasting money on fucking war and corporate welfare. So I used to be more hesitant on the idea. I'm more open to it now. I think universal basic income is probably a good idea. Despite being a free speech absolutist, would you be willing to ban the word nothing burger? Yes. Raising the living wage will get rid of welfare costs ranging from $700+ billion a year. Why are the taxpayers responsible for private business workers? I think this is a good way to lure the right. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think that framing is right. That framing makes perfect sense. You can lure the right wingers in by saying, hey, you want to save the taxpayers money? Great, me too. Let's have a living wage. Let's have the minimum wage be a living wage, and then you save the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money, billions of dollars a year. Slave history aside, the Second Amendment was meant to prevent tyranny by eliminating the need for a standing army. With the standing army we have, is it null? Listen, I wouldn't. There was an article from Justice. Who was it? Justice Kennedy? No, John Paul Stevens the other day that said he wants to abolish the Second Amendment. I don't agree with that. I think we could keep the Second Amendment, but just interpret it in a way that makes sense. So it says, a well-regulated militia, necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-regulated militia. The word regulated is right in there. So I think we can have regulated guns, basically. So legalize them, they're already legal. Tax them, regulate them, and you can get rid of the worst kinds of guns. You could have tests in place. You could have universal background checks. You could ban high-capacity magazines. So I'm in favor of keeping the amendment, but just interpreting it in a way that's not absolutely moronic. That's my take. What's your opinion on veganism and the animal agriculture industry being subsidized $38 billion and is linked with environmental destruction? I hate factory farming. I think it should basically be banned, and you should mandate by law humane treatment of animals. I'm not in favor of banning eating animals. I think that's way too far. But while they're alive, they should be treated in a humane way. I see the moral appeal of veganism, but I don't want to eat that way. Sorry. Hi, Kyle. There's a YouTuber called Nightmare Fuel. He wants to have a discussion with you on foreign policy. He's a progressive hawk and would be an interesting conversation between debate Ben Shapiro, please. Everybody with the Ben Shapiro thing. Love Bernie Sanders, but don't you think the whole system needs to be replaced because Bernie or anyone ultimately will keep the corrupt system alive? No. I think we need to totally reform the system almost from the ground up. But I'm in favor of massive, gargantuan, gigantic whole reform. Not in favor of a literal, violent revolution. So I think it's possible to do the reforms we need to fix the system and to not fucking try to storm the White House or the Capitol with weapons. What's your opinion on the preparation and eating of delicious animals? Also, a bunch of my earlier comments got skipped. I'm sorry, man. I can't see all these. There's so many that flow in. The eating of animal. I eat meat. What do you want me to say, guys? Sorry, vegans. I get where you're coming from. I see the moral appeal of it, but I eat meat. Sorry. I'd stick to my AR-15 in the NRA. I'd like to stick my AR-15. Okay, I can't read that. Randomly wondering if you have an opinion on the Fermi paradox. Is much closer to politics than one might think. I don't remember what that is, but I do remember reading about it once and being intrigued. Maybe I'll read it again because that does sound interesting. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. My stomach is fucking killing me because I haven't eaten in forever. But thanks, everybody, for listening, and thanks, everybody, for donating, and thank you for all the questions. I love you all. We'll be back with a super show on Thursday. Much love, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.